Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Silverstone, Northamptonshire for round 3 and 4 of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. Don't forget, you can keep in touch with us throughout the build-up. The races themselves use the hashtag ProtoICE. Alongside me in the booth this evening, Marius Gonnenbeck and Yodi Backman. Hello.
Yo. Good evening, everyone. Looking to a very fantastic race here tonight. After the first round on Road America, we're now on the island. Silverstone is the venue here. Currently, we've got just over 40 drivers attending the qualifying, and we're looking to one fantastic race.
Yeah, as was the case last week, you are looking at one of the 3 qualifying sessions that are taking place at the moment. These drivers split into 3 different fields just to make things easier for them all. Timo Even has just completed a lap, but he's struggling today. He's only actually managed to get 2 time laps in the bag, and this track is very difficult for setting one very fast quick lap, as you've got to use all the curbs, all the rumble strips to get the speed, but you go an inch 2 over and your lap's completely validated.
The danger is high of invalidating your lap, that is correct, but so far we've seen top runners from Road America on the top of the standings currently. Leading the pack here, Gregor Hutu with a 1 minute 31.084 just in front of Jesse Nieminen here, and it's probably even closer than on Road America, Will.
Yeah, the field is close, and Silverstone is a very tough track. On paper, it just looks like it's flat and there's some squiggles all over the place, but I mean, sector number 1 especially, Cost Corner at very fast right-hander, 3 Maggots, Beckett's down the hanger straight away where you can get yourself a bit of a breath, but those first couple of corners you can gain or lose at least half a second. But these drivers have been on it all week, like we saw previously at Road America, and the field, I mean, it's high quality as we expected, but I think Hutu looks as though he's got his stuff together this week.
So far he does. Pole with just about 1/10 in front of Jesse Nieminen after Nieminen took the pole on Road America here. So Hutu strikes back for now. We've got about 3 minutes going with the qualifying session, 50 minutes almost completely done, and currently we're on board with Timo Ivonen, 5th in the session, and we're just going to take a look on the track, and you said it, Will. For example, the first turn is completely flat out in qualifying trim here. Some very fast turns, very high speed bends here, but then you've also got the chicanes and the bit slower turns, and you really need to find a compromise with your setup.
Yeah, the Vale chicane and the Abbey chicanes, especially the Abbey chicane, is where you really need to be on it. If you can get a good drive out of Abbey coming underneath bridge into the complex, you can not only gain some time in qualifying, but in the race itself, you can really line yourself up for a pass, because passing can be tough here. There are a good number of passing opportunities, however, down into Stoke Corner is one of the big ones, and as you were just saying, we've just got just under 2 minutes until the Glacier TV checkered flag will fly. And what is interesting though is that some of these drivers, of course, were lining up to race in the Pro Series earlier on today. That race unfortunately got cancelled, and in many ways it's just kind of bunched the field closer together, because the guys who were expected to do double duty now has got the chance to try and find a bit more speed.
Yeah, the preferences might be playing a role in this. Pro Series has been cancelled, of course, being run with the Williams Toyota FW31. We're running the Honda HPD prototype here, and they are somewhat similar. Of course, this being a prototype, not an open wheel car. Still though, the turning speeds, G-forces sort of align, and we've got so much sweeping turns here that even in a Formula 1 car you barely find straights after the S's. So you really need to take every breath you can here, even in the HPD. And we've got a long race coming up, 50 minutes of qualifying almost over, and Gregor Hutu still on pole.
Yeah, you see a number of drivers very slow. I tell you what though, Istvan Balau might not make it back in time. He's only got 36 seconds to complete his lap, and I don't think he should be able to do so. Jesse Nieminen should get himself one more opportunity. He has just come out of bridge corner and he's got 26 seconds to complete the lap. He should be okay to do so. Ernesto de la Pena has actually just started the lap, coming out of Cost Corner himself. Martin Kroenke is on his final lap of the day. I don't think Jason Lovett is going to be able to get to the checkered flag, and it's going to be very close to David Williams. In fact, Williams will not make it, as will Esther Hennerton. They will both miss out by a couple of seconds, but Jesse Nieminen will come out of the final corner. He has just come past the start-finish line. The checkered flag is in hand, Neiman has got 1 lap. We're going to go on board with him, coming out of turn number 1. And Marius, this is the critical sector here, coming through Maggots now and the back ends.
Yeah, the S's, you nearly take them full speed almost halfway through, and then you need to be steep on the brake, and you just need to hit every apex there is. As soon as you just miss it slightly, you're losing so much speed on the hanger straight that of course your lap time might already be ruined there after a few turns, and Jesse took them very carefully there, but also nailed the apex pretty much. And I'm currently looking on another session. Of course, we've got 3 different qualifying sessions here. Currently, Gregor Hutu is on another session. He's, of course, leading the field so far, 1 minute 31.084. And he's currently coming across the line. Also, his last lap here. Checkered flag for Gregor Hutu. Will he be able to improve his time? And 1 minute 31.044. So
Yep.
with nothing going for him, he still manages to improve and for now keeps the pole position.
And it doesn't matter because Jesse Neiman just got a little bit too wide coming into Stowe corner. Of course, Stowe famous for that horrific accident with Michael Schumacher back in 1999. Jesse just getting a little bit too wide on the exit of the corner, goes onto the grass. His lap was invalidated, so he will not get pole position. That will fall to the German Gregor Hutu. He will take his first pole position here in the ProtoICE series. And a little bit disappointing there because Neiman's first sector actually was pretty damn fast, and he's unfortunate just to lose it, you know, in what essentially is not that difficult a corner.
Well, if you get many of these, say, regular type of corners here, so nothing really special, but it's the mix you really need to improve. And like we've seen after the first turn, you've got the S's, you've got the sweeping turns, and you really need to find the mix. You really need to find the combination between the turns. And it might not be a little bit of an advantage if you nail one of these turns. You really need to nail all of them, and even if you don't nail all of them, it might still be better to just find the way out of the turn onto the straight.
So we will collate the qualifying results together. We'll run through your grid in a couple of moments, but that, you know, is going to give advantage Hutu. Of course, Hutu got 2 second places in the first 2 heats at Road America, so he has a championship lead at the moment, and getting that pole position is just going to increase his confidence, but also it's going to make his first race pretty easy. Of course, though, Marius, if he wins the first race, he'll be lining up 20th for the second race, and Hutu really was one of those few drivers who's able to get out of the melee down into turn number 1, and he overtook a good number of drivers. So Hutu at the moment really is in prime position for this race.
He is, and the qualifying results have been plotted here from the 3 sessions, and we see it now. Gregor Hutu takes the pole here, 1 minute 31.044 with the last lap of the session, still managed to improve after setting a good time early in the session already. Second position, Jesse Neiman in 0.199, already quite a bit off, 1.5 tenths, so I'm not really sure where the focus for Jesse is. Might be on the race, we've got a long race coming up, so still a lot of chances to go. Third position in the qualifying, Martin Krönke, 1 minute 31.478, and he's already almost 4 tenths off, just in front of David Williams, 1 minute 31.5. Fifth position here, Alexi Aloma, 1 minute 31.6, and together with Ilkka Haapala there, they start to tumble down a bit in the grid, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8 then, and we're quickly in the 1 minute and 32s.
But it doesn't matter necessarily about qualifying. We saw this at Road America last week. A number of drivers were a little bit off in qualifying, but really made up for it in the race. Of course, really, these drivers have got to work on 3 completely different angles when setting up their race car. They've got to get qualifying nailed, where, you know, you do 1 lap and it literally is, you're driving that car like it is on rails. Then you've got the first race where, you know, you might have a certain strategy for it. There's no pit stops that come into play. So it's kind of, where do I want to be going into race number 2? And then, of course, the second race, it all gets turned on its head again. And if you had a car that was great by itself but sucked in traffic, then you might actually be in a couple of issues.
You really need to find the balance, and we've emphasized that in the first round of the season on Road America. We've got a shorter track this time. We've still got somewhat similar track layout, a lot of sweeping turns, S's, fast turns, slow turns, all the mix. And yeah, I wonder how much the guys in particular managed to really translate the qualifying pace onto both races here. Of course, the qualifying format being 50 minutes long, then leading into the first race, which of course makes the second race the top 20 inverted. So if he finished 20th in the first race, he still managed to go on pole for the second race.
Indeed, and to say, let us know your thoughts on Twitter. Use the hashtag ProtoICE. That's all one word, please, because Twitter doesn't like it when you put it in the space. Use the hashtag ProtoICE. And what we want to know today is, can Hutu do the double? Can he charge through the field to get all the way to the front of this track? I mean, he's been dominant in qualifying. We expect him to dominate race number 1, but of course race 2 is when he's going to have to do the hardest of his work here today. We saw how he gained so many positions at Road America. You say he got through the melee, which probably made it a bit easier for him, but can Hutu do the impossible and do the double? Let us know on Twitter. Use the hashtag ProtoICE. And Marius, we talk about Silverstone. Of course, though, we've got to talk about the starts. And a number of drivers were given a warning after the previous race at Road America for a number of infractions, mainly down to the starts, of course. Drivers who, you know, normally have not that bad an issue, but, you know, we don't want to have start issues. And Bob Kern, Carl Frederick Hersong, Jana Metakane, Jorn Jens, Marcus Caton, Pascal Nicolas, Ruku Bikeling, and Timo Evenham all got warnings, with Marcus Caton and Jorn Jens getting a penalty for this race as well. The start's going to be difficult because the cars at the back, of course, they're actually going to be on the exit of Lovefield when the green flag flies. But coming down to Cross Corner, we really don't want to have a repeat of what happened last time.
Of course we don't, and talking about Cross Corner, the first turn here of course is no problem when you're all alone, but there might be some battles in the mid-pack already. Of course, the start being a perfect situation to make up positions relatively quickly, and as soon as you go into the turn you might not want to be 2 or even 3 wide there, and if you are, you've got a little bit of runoff on the left which ends up in a bit of carpet, and then you've got grass, and well, if you nail that grass with just one tire, you might just produce a similar incident on Road America, and you definitely don't want to do that.
Completely, yeah. And 44 cars start taking a green flag for these races. It's going to be a little bit less than we saw at Road America, but as I said, the rear of the field is going to be on the exit of Lovefield, and that is going to be difficult. You're going to try to put the power down, but at the same time, you've got to be turning right at the same time, and these cars don't like low-speed turning. So it will be interesting to keep an eye out on the rear of the field for these races. One other thing I want to touch about as well is we talked about this on the Glacier TV Ice Lounge, which came out today, but going back to the strategy options, some of these drivers might have to take a different approach to the second race with less downforce than that. We talked about how the optimal way to go is with medium style downforce, but do you think you'll see a couple of drivers in race number 2 especially trying to bite the bullet and go for a slip-slidey low downforce setup?
They might do that. Of course, the effect of a low downforce setup not being so hard as soon as you're in the traffic, because you need to back off anyway. And running in traffic through the S's, for example, you really need to go slower and make sure the car stays on track, as you might run into dirty air. And yeah, if you're stuck in traffic for quite some time, a low downforce setup might even pay off, because obviously you get more slipstream, you got more draft on the straights, and down Hanger Straight you might need to get the overlap to overtake right there, because well, we've not really got that much long straights, at least on this track.
Yeah, you know, the front straightaway leads into such a fast sweeping right-hander that you have to be very brave to attempt an overtaking manoeuvre there. The hang straightaway really is your best chance down into Stowe Corner to make a move down on the inside. Of course, you remember the whole Nigel Mansell, 1988, I believe it was. They had that great battle where down the hang straightaway. But you have got the chance to overtake into Vale and Abbey Chicanes. Perhaps, as I said, coming out of Bridge Corner as well. If you get a nice toe through the corner, flick it to the left-hand side, make a move into the next left-hander. But I think the key thing, like at Road America, is all going to come down to patience, because you've got to time your maneuvers. And in fact, here, it's probably even more critical than at Road America, because you've got less opportunities to actually make the pass.
That is right, and as soon as you, of course, try to make the pass, you want to execute it in a manner where you don't damage your car and, of course, the car of your fellow competitor. And well, it's been fairly clean on Road America, especially with the guys starting on the back of the grid in the second race. So even if you win the first race here, or get in, for example, top 5, you start in 15th, 16th, 17th position in the second race, and you need to work all the way up the grid as if you were just starting in the rear for the first race. And of course, the other way around, the guys just finishing in 10th position, maybe having a little bit of issues in the first race, now starting in the middle of the pack as well. And yeah, it's just mixing the whole grid together.
For those of you who have been watching the Glacier TV black screen for the last couple of minutes, you will be pleased to know that we're getting pictures beamed over to you from Northamptonshire, England, any second now. And one of the things that I think that we need to discuss is that battle for the championship. Gregor Hutu, some people would say he kind of lucked out a little bit in race number 2 by getting through the mess, but you've got to be in it to win it. This time, however, Hutu looks like he's completely dominant, and this is a case now of just trying to get himself some points in the championship, and who really right now has the chance to challenge him. I mean, Niemanen had a very bad second race. It's a Conquier who can actually really contend for a championship at the moment.
It's hard to say at this moment, but we've seen the qualifying at Road America, we've now seen the qualifying at Silverstone, and it's again about 5 drivers which are on the top of the pack here, especially Krönke, Niemanen and Hutu, still in the top 3, just like the last race, and these were the dominant drivers for the last race. Of course, behind them, guys like David Williams, Alexi Loma and Ilkka Haapala, still not that far off, just a 10th of 3rd, 4th position, so it's not really set who's going to have the lead lap into the first turn here. Just taking a look at Niemanen and Hutu though. Niemanen and Hutu being about 3/10 ahead of 3rd position Martin Krönke. So it might be that these two are fighting for the win alone this way, but second race coming up, and yeah, cards are being resorted and everything starts from a new point.
And that's, of course, not to say that Niemanen or Hutu will win a race. Have you got someone who you've kind of picked out as your race winner, potentially, for race number 1 we'll start with?
It's hard to say, really. Would, of course, be glad to hear that from you guys on Twitter or, of course, on the forums. It might be that Hutu gets the better start then, and with these cars, when you're running alone behind another, it might be hard to overtake. Of course, I think Niemanen will be trying everything to attack Hutu right away, but we've known from the Drivers' World Championship last year, Niemanen and Hutu have a positive history, fighting all the way, different races, they've all been close together, and well, my bet is on Hutu for the first race, but for the second race, I really don't know. It's you said it. It's maybe a question of luck. Might involve a bit of luck at least to get through the traffic cleanly. So cards are completely restarted. The game is a completely new one, and I really have got no clue. Last race we've seen Jörn Jens win the second race after starting on pole, and that's just how it can go.
And you mentioned a very good point that Niemanen and Hutu have had many a great battle in the Grand Prix World Championship Series on iRacing, and I think that that will only add to the excitement. But I think the question really needs to be asked: which one of them is actually going to be better working away through traffic? And that's what we might find out by later on this evening. Because, as I say, Hutu had a bit of difficulties trying to get around one of the Radicals drivers in the Road America race. It took him a good 3 or 4 laps to do so. And I'm interested to see whether or not people like Kroenke, Niemanen, perhaps even Daniel Lopez as well, whether or not they actually manage the traffic better than Hutu. If there's ever a stumbling point in the Germans' arsenal, I think that perhaps could be it.
Of course, you say it, if you start in the back of the second race, then you run into a lot of maybe a bit slower cars, but they of course run their own race. They of course try to make as much points as they can for the championship here, and it's not a question of them letting you by. Of course, no blue flag rules involved. It's a regular racing field, and you might want to find one of the race winners in race 1 right behind you, but of course you're racing him. It's no reason to let him pass directly, and we've seen on Road America that even a bit of the slower guys can fight very hard with the faster guys, and there's no direct way past.
Yeah, you're going to have to fight for every single pass on this racetrack, and what really was useful about Road America as well is without these pit stops, the field does spread together the entire race long, and what that means is that you're going to have to work for your positions, but if you mess up, then you're losing a lot more time than if it was a longer endurance race, where the field gets spread out over the course of 1, 2, 3 pit stops. And that's something that these drivers, some of them, need to think about as well. So many stories coming into this race. As you say, you saw the standings on your screen there, and also the prize pool. And these drivers are battling for the top prize of $500, and we also, once again, have to say a big thank you to IGP Manager as well for providing some prizes for us. So then, having a look, now we've got ourselves just under 2 minutes of practice here just before the race starts, and this practice session, this last practice session, Larry, is before everyone starts this race. Just really kind of last shakedown almost, but you really want to kind of calm those nerves down now. You know we're going to start on the grid, but you kind of have that adrenaline pumping. It's kind of tempering that adrenaline now. 2 sprint races, you really can't let your emotions get the better of you too early on.
2 sprint races, you say it, and these cars are not really meant for sprint races right away. Of course, running in the ALMS, for example, multiple hour races, even 24 hours of Le Mans, for example, and it's not really the car you want to run for just half an hour, even less. But still, we've got the 2 sprint races right here, and well, it's a little bit of readjustment here, and most of the drivers managed well in the first race, and I wonder how it's going to be now.
Indeed. A very big shout out to Paul Brown and Anesta. I'm not going to say somebody's name. Matthias Woolhart as well. Having the fun on the chat. Of course, if you go to glaciertv.com, you can chat with fellow spectators all race long. A very big hello to our over 200 people watching this race live. We'll be with you throughout the first race, throughout the interval and the second race as well. And we will not go on air until we've dissected both. We won't go off air even until we've dissected both races after the conclusion of race number 2. And we have got ourselves less than half a minute now until the checkered flag will fly for the conclusion of practice. Jeremy Boutalib, Kevin Asher, and Jorn Jens just having themselves a little battle there. They're going out of Vale into Club Corner. And I think that for these drivers, the pace is so similar that you're going to want to just make sure that you keep it calm at the start. After everything that went wrong in Road America, all of these drivers are going to want to get through the start cleanly, but it's a very tight front straightaway, just like Road America. So if one driver has a bad start, it really does mean the field will just swarm around them.
The starting grid not being too far apart of each other, of course, adds up to that. Even in this short type of race, only 30 minutes, of course, 2 times 30 minutes here tonight, you might want to take it easy for the start. Of course, yeah, like I said earlier, you've got the start being one of the best positions to make up positions quickly as the cars line up on the grid right now, but might as well be your end of the race right away, and I think most of the guys just want to take it safe here.
Yeah, so to run through your top 10 then, it is Gregor Hutu on the pole with Jesse Neiman alongside him in row number 1. Martin Kroenke and David Williams will line up in row number 2 with Ike Hapala in the 5th position, Aleski Loma in 6th, Ricky Radatolo in 7th, Jeremy Boutalib in 8th, Timo Evenen in 9th, and Jason Lovett rounding out your top 10. We are less than 20 seconds away from round number 3 of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup brought to you by Glacier TV. Race number 3, of course, is about to start. Race number 4 will come to you in just over 1 hour's time. The lights are on the gantry. We're waiting for them to go red, and after that they'll go green. We're waiting for them now. The cars revving up their engines, and as the lights go green, we are right here at Silverstone.
Good start from Hutu. Williams misses the start. A little bit of contact between Harpala and Aloma right away. Williams lost several positions there. Good start from Boutalib as well. And it looks fairly clean through the first turn for the top runners here off the grid. Petri Kotovara going wide there over the green. And Hutu currently leading ahead of Nieminen and Kroenke. And then it's already quite a bit of a gap.
Yeah, everyone through turn number 1. Okay, Kotovara goes very, very wide into turn number 1, and he loses himself a ton of positions. They are 2 wide racing as they come into Beckett, and I believe that is Timo Vura there, who's very wide on the exit of Beckett. He lost himself 2 positions, like coming down the hangar straight away for the first time.
Hutu still leading the grid half a lap into the race here. Bit of damage on the car for Alexia Loma there after the start. Williams lost 3 positions here. Rico Alatalo behind him, Timo Ivon and Jason Lovett. An attack from Jack Basford here against Lovett.
Yeah, Ricky Bikeling was involved in an incident there. I believe Ernesto de la Pera is involved as well. I'm just having a look to see what happened to Bikeling. There's a number of drivers involved coming out of Beckett. Bikeling was on the right-hand side. He came across and the 15 car was involved in that, as was, I believe, just one more car. In fact, you know, it's just 2-car incident there. So mercifully, everyone else got through okay, but they were already completing lap number 1 almost, and out front, it is just determined drive by Gregor Hutu. He's got himself almost a half-second gap already over Jesse Nieminen in the 38 car. Martin Kroenke's in 3rd. David Williams is in the David Williams has fallen back into the 8th position. Kroenke is, however, still sat in the 3rd position.
We've got some great charges here up the grid as we finish the first lap of the race. Chris Diamond Jr., for example, you know him from the Petit Le Mans. Just a week ago, he's already made up 7 positions here with the race underway, from 23rd into 16th so far. And he's just following Paul Ilbrink, Roderick Kroinen and Pablo Lopez, all of which have made up several positions here at the start. Confusion. So far, everything's still clean, no further incidents, and even at the back of the grid, everything lined up properly.
Having a look at the number 13 machine of Leslie Aloma there, and it looks like he's starting to fall back from the rear of Martin Kroenke. So we're going to have ourselves perhaps a 3-car breakaway as Kroenke, Nieminen and Hutu are starting to drift off into the sunset. And Aloma is coming under attack a little bit there by Ika Hapala in the 8 machine. We've got ourselves perhaps a 4-car battle which should be emerging anytime soon between Aloma, Hapala, Bootloop and Williams. That's going to be the battle from 4th all the way through to 7th position, with Riku Alatolo just behind him in 8th.
Williams dropped from 4th position on the grid to 7th after a bad start. Now right ahead of his teammate from My 380 Gaming, Rico Alatalo, and behind Jeremy Bootaloop from Radicals. And Harpala currently in 5th position, and Hutu already created quite a bit of a gap to Nieminen.
Yeah, and I think though that Hutu out front is just dominating at the moment. The gap as they came past the line last time by was 1.1 seconds. We'll get confirmation as they come past the line once again, and the gap is up to 1.8 seconds. But look at Kroenke. He had himself a terrible lap there, and he's fallen back to 1.3 seconds behind Jesse Nieminen. And in fact, Aleski Aloma himself is falling back into the clutches of the 8-car of Ika Hapala. So that battle that I talked about a couple of moments ago really is starting to kick off here. And also Timo Ivinen looking as though he's coming to the picture as well, as is Riku Alatolo.
Harpala in the first turn going wide over the grass, over the carpet. The AstroTurf just scraped that with the underbody behind Alexia Loma. With the new build underway coming out just recently, we've got a bit of a change to the dirty air especially, and running closely behind another is a little bit more difficult than it was before, and we've seen that in the first turn for Ilkka Harpala. He needed to take the emergency exit there over the over the left, of course.
Yeah, and keeping an eye on the battle for the 20th position, this is where things get really interesting, because don't forget, whoever finishes 20th in this race will get the pole for the second race. You've got Dean Burgess on the right-hand side coming down into Vale. Ismail Bano is on the left. He lost out the position there, but a little bit further ahead of them, you've got yourself some great battles inside. Dion Burgess lost himself in 10 positions there in that last lap, so he had a big race. We'll check back in on that one. But we've got people like Troy Schultz at the moment, right on the bubble for that top 20th, and we saw at Road America just how important that 20th position can be.
Once again, Chris Diamond Jr. in the picture. He started from 23rd and now is currently in 17th. So you see how much of a start this really plays in. Troy Schultz currently in 20th position on the bubble here, and a bit of a battle brewing up between him and Klaus Elmbrandt in 21st. And Jonas Nukarin in 19th already broke free quite a bit. I wonder how much that really takes up to Chris Diamond Jr., for example, to make up further positions on the grid here. 2.2 seconds, however, between Hutu and Nieminen the last time by on start-finish.
Yeah, and I talked to a number of drivers in the week, and they were talking about how they literally just put their car at some point on the racetrack and practiced their race starts, because it can actually be very difficult to get good speed on this car when you get through the box for the first time. But out front, Gregor Hutu has clearly broken the draft from Jesse Niemann. That is, I'm sure, what he wanted to do in the first couple of laps. Martin Kroenke in the third position, again, has had the draft broken between himself and Niemann. So these top three drivers now literally just hot lapping for the time being. But if any of these drivers have worked their tyres too hard too early on, they could come back together later on in this race. Checking in once again on Alessio Loma, he is kind of managing that gap between himself and Ika Hapala. This is the matter of the fourth position, and Boutaloop is in the sixth spot. David Williams right behind him. We have got ourselves now a 6-car train, and Jack Basford in the 33 car is catching these guys up. Loma right now is playing the role of the Trulli train, I think.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of damage to the right side of the rear wing. I wonder if that's affecting him. We're checking with the lap times currently. 1 minute 33.5 for Eloma, 0.4 for Kroenke, and 1 minute 32.6 for Nieminen. So it looks like Nieminen picked up the pace a little bit, just lost 2/10 last lap. Gregor Hutu being a 0.3, and I wonder if Hutu just got the better start here. He's really putting an aggressive pace in right away, and we've got 8 minutes underway currently, and 22 minutes to go, of course, and 2.5 seconds to the lead for Nieminen.
Yeah, and let's just rewind these first couple of laps once again. How important was it for Gregor Hutu in that number 29 car to get that draft broken in those first couple of laps? We just saw him set 2 blistering lap times, and now Niemann is not that much slower. But was it that important for Hutu to break the draft early on?
I wonder if it was important to break the draft. I think he did more than that. He just got a great start off the line, and he could break away clearly in the beginning already. He nailed the first couple of turns, of course not being that easy with cold tires, and right half a lap done, he's already got about 2 seconds of a lead. Might be that Nieminen took it a bit easy in the dirty air behind him, and now it's maybe time to strike back. But it will be a hard time for Nieminen to create the gap and to get closer and really create the draft again.
And you have a look at that battle for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th on the racetrack. We talked about this at Road America as well. One driver makes a mistake now, they're going to lose themselves a good 3-4 positions on the racetrack. It's also showing just how difficult it is to pass at the moment. All of these drivers running very similar setups by the look of it, similar amounts of wing, and you've got to get yourself a perfect drive out of Beckett's even. If you're Ika Hapala, if you're going to try and make a move down in Stowe Corner, because for the moment, it looks as though they're all just kind of sat in that dirty air about 2-3 tenths of a second behind the car in front.
It might not be that easy to produce good lap times right in the draft, but we've got Marcus Caden and Jörn Jens, who started with a grid penalty at the very end of the grid in 27th and 28th positions respectively, and Jens is currently in 30th and 31st, Marcus Caden so far, so they've made up more than 15 positions. Might be good to see if they can even make it to the top 20.
Yeah, that is going to be on their minds. They're going to say, okay, I don't care where I finish, so long as it's within the top 20. And the advantage you get by finishing in that top 20, you know, it's going to be worth so much. And there's once again, Jörn Jens coming down into Stowe Corner, looking down to the inside. Thought better of it there. That was him trying to make a move on Philip Stan in the battle for the 29th position. The thing for these drivers is there's a little bit of a separation between most of these drivers. It would just be when you're coming up to Paul Williams, this Van Ballau, the free car there of Risto that you're really going to have to work your way methodically through the traffic, because once you get through those guys, it really is most cars running single file by themselves all the way up until you get to about Tapani Laniotto in 22nd.
22nd position, you're talking about that. On the bubble, currently Jonas Nukarinen, who got passed by Troy Schultz. Chris Dameron Jr. right ahead, leading the train. And just a few laps ago, we've had a bit of gap between Nukarinen and Schultz, in fact. And he's managed to close that relatively quickly. And now it's Nukarinen on the bubble. Ellenbrand behind him, Lina Loto behind him. And yeah, we've definitely got a battle brewing up there. And I wonder how Schultz is able to defend against Nukarinen for the 18th position, respectively.
Yeah, and for those of you who are just joining us, the story of the race so far, Gregor Hutu got a brilliant start from the pole position. He's pulled out now a 3-second gap in second. Martin Kroenke currently working in the 3rd position, but we've got Alessio Loma being passed there by Ika Hapala. That's the battle for 4th position. Hapala just comes down the inside in to the Abbey chicane, and that was a beautiful pass there, but Aleski Loma right behind him trying to get the job done back. You see he's looking now down to the outside to come down into Vale, and Aloma trying to go the long way around. He's not going to make it happen, but if you get a good run out of here, look at that sideways there for Apana. He's into the wall. I was going to say Aloma would have had a great run into Bridge Corner, but that all went wrong for Iko Apana, and I'm not sure how much contact was between the two of them. Just look at the side. Apana, actually no, there was a little bit of contact there, with Aloma just touching the side of Apana's car.
It looks like Harpala just didn't leave the room for Aloma there. He was fully alongside, going right out of the turn there, and just received a little bit of a tap from Alexi there, enough to send him slightly into the wall here. He's lost 5 positions, I think. Yeah, put him down to 10th position, right behind Basford and right in front of Jason Lovett.
Yeah, and in all of that melee as well, generally Bootsloop is now sat in the 5th position, and in fact Bootsloop there having a little bit of a look down to the inside as they come into Costa Corner. He's going to think better of it, and now he's going to see whether he can do the same thing, perhaps down into Stoke Corner or into the Abbey chicane, as you just saw. I mean, part of that, just to run back through that, I mean, it really wasn't either of those drivers' fault. Hapata did kind of cut across Aloma a little bit there, and in reality that was nothing more than a racing incident.
It's just the same way I see that. It's just enough. I mean, you see it, just a little bit of a tap on the rear right there, and the car, of course, being stabilized by the wings and by the air shafts and everything. It's just pushed down by air, and as soon as you send it sideways, the grip is immediately lost, and that's just how it went for Ilkka Harpala there, from 4th positions right down to 10th.
And you're having a look at Bootsloop there in the 30 car. He's trying to get past this Chully train, as I'm calling it, in the battle for the 4th position. But for Aloma as well, this is the initiative, knowing he was past to then try and run the outside line down into Vale, which is a very difficult corner. And he's thinking, well, if I can actually stay side by side coming out of Vale, I'm going to have the advantage through Bridge. And that was some good forward thinking there by Aloma, rather than just throwing, you know, he just threw caution to the wind there and thought, heck, I'm still racing here. And he has, however, got Bootsloop, as I say, right behind them. They have got themselves just ahead of Loma is TK Yazagic in the 07 car. He's currently running in the 47th position. Currently scored 2 laps down and struggling. He's going to let all of these cars go past as they come past the start-finish line. Out front, however, it is still Hutu leading the way. The gap is now up to 3.5 seconds as they're starting to get themselves into a little bit of traffic. But we're going to keep an eye on that battle for the 20th position. Klaus Ellenbrand in the 42 car is actually gapped Pan Laniotto now by about a second. And that's going to be good news for the 42 car of Ellenbrand. Oh! Laniotto having to go very wide there as TK Yazic was running down on the inside into Koff's corner. And Laniotto, I'm not sure if he got out of that okay, but that was a scary moment there.
It was indeed very scary there, and it lost him a bit of time to the guys ahead here. Marcus Storr gained a position by that. Kevin Asher behind him right now, also closing in a bit. And Dion Verge is currently in 25th, also a very fast driver here. He's been having a bit of problem at the start. Started 18th, in fact, and now is in 25th. So he's maybe also looking to get top 20 here. And I've just seen Jonas Nukarinen going very sideways there, almost spinning the car.
Yeah, and you talk about this, as soon as these cars kind of get out of that grip level and they start going sideways, there's just absolutely no grip left on them at all. And you're seeing a couple of drivers, you know, once they go offline here, it's looking as though they're in very dangerous territory. Checking in this big battle there, you've got Timo Even in 8th, Rico Alatolo in 7th, David Williams in 6th, Jimmy Bootsloop in 5th, and Aleski Aloma in the 4th position. And these guys are separated by less than 2 seconds on the racetrack, and that is just how many of these HPDs can you put in one straightaway?
Absolutely, and it's just been going like that for the entire bit of the race right now. 15 minutes on the way, we're halfway into the race, and these guys been going at it for the whole time. Jack Basford currently in 9th, 3 seconds behind Evon there, not really able to close the gap even though the guys are fighting. But, well, I think especially Hutu, Niemann and Krönke will be very happy ahead. Krönke currently almost 6 seconds ahead of P4 Alexi Aloma, and Aloma maybe holding up the field a bit with the damaged car after the crash of Happala. It might be enough to really create the gap for Krönke, Niemann and Hutu, so they can pretty much relax. I mean, even Niemann got 3.7 to the guy ahead. Gregor Hutu, of course, leading the grid still. It might be enough for them to just lay low and make a count on the second race.
Yeah, but as we've just passed the halfway distance of this race, at what point the frustration starts to kick in for some of these drivers, and they think, you know, I want to get past. I'm fed up now, just sat in this dirty air, and someone starts making a big, bold move down into one of these corners. I think, Aloma has got speed. I mean, he's not tremendously off the pace. It's just that he's not slow enough, though, that any of these drivers can really find a way past. And just as I say that, though, Ascot Bootsman had a great run coming out of, and down into Cox Corner, Bootsleep got a great run there, but again, not quite able to get the job done. And I think for Bootsleep right now, he's just having difficulties getting drive out of the exit of Beckett's, because if he can get that one nailed, then he really has got a good shot of going side by side down the hangar straightaway.
Yeah, he's got the bit of an incident there earlier. He's just he doesn't seem to get the car so planted out of the turns. He's far quicker than Aloma on the straight. You see it here, he's just charging him down Hangar Straight, but in the dirty air, out of the S's, he just can't really create the gap there already, and to overtake him, he might need to be within, let's say, 2 or 3 car lengths, and he's just too far away to make the pass.
And this all comes back down to kind of like sprint races versus endurance racing once again. And at the same time, that you've got to try and find a way past. And perhaps he's going to start having to work out different methods of, taking that corner. If he can get, off the gas earlier in the corner, he can perhaps get it on it a little bit later. A little bit earlier in itself, and that might help him. But when you've got David Williams sat right behind you, you don't want to give the guy behind any opportunity to pass as well. And David Williams just been sat there like a hawk for the last 2-3 laps now.
Pablo Lopez, meanwhile, the first real crash of the day. He's lost it out of the first turn, being in 14th position, and the car just slammed in the wall, and that is race over for Pablo GoPro Lopez here. Of course, that gives Jonas Nukarinen, ran in 21st position last lap, 1 position, and he's going to find himself in 20th this time by. And of course, that gains him, not only him a position, but also Tapani Linaluto behind him, Kevin Asher, Juha-Pekka Lemmy, and also Dion Vergers, who's now in 24th position, and they are all closing in towards the 20th position there, and Ellen Brandt in 18, Troy Schultz in 17, and Chris Damron Jr. in 16. They are all, let's say, in fighting distance for the top 20, and maybe Roderick Croynan, who's 5 seconds ahead of Damron Jr. in place 15. He might be the first one to be safe, but as we've seen with Pablo Lopez, just a little bit of going wide out of the first turn onto the AstroTurf, and it's enough to put you out of the race.
I wouldn't say it's even the AstroTurf, it really is. He caught the white line at the worst possible place, and that car just speared to the left. And I really want to see what happened on GoPro when that happened. Of course, Pablo GoPro Lopez, famous for his kind of in-car videos there. I'm sure that will be up on YouTube in the upcoming days. Out front, however, it is Hutu still leading the way. The gap is now 4.4 seconds over Jesse Niemanen, with just over 11 minutes left to go in this race. There's car on pit road. That is Alain Sabach in the 57 car, who's got his car bent up in all forms of directions. He is currently scored 1 lap down here, where he's pretty much going to be out of the race. And in that battle for the 20th position as well, Tapana Leleote is really stalking Nukarinen in the 65 car, and I think Leleote right now is in the hot seat to get himself into the 20th position, because we saw at Road America just how good he can be on that second half of the race.
Especially in the second half of the race, correct? As he goes a bit sideways there before the final turn, commentator's curse may be, in fact, that is, so we might stop talking about that for further time. Still, he's really in the distance to make the move, not yet, but he's seeing the guys ahead, so 10 minutes to go right now behind Jonas Nukarinen in 20th, and also Chris Damron Jr. is currently leading the pack in 16th position. He's not too far away, and it might be enough for the guys ahead to make one mistake further, and they all just move up 1 place in the grid, and just like we've seen with Pablo Lopez, that might put you in the hot seat for the second race.
Yep, and if you're fighting for 20th position, you want to be fighting also to be on the pole for the second race, and put it into the big picture, you'll get a lot more points from first to second than you'd get from 19th to 20th. That might be playing on a couple of these drivers' mind. Just to give you an update on retirees from this race, the 15 car, Vili, is out of the race. He's currently scored 11 laps down. TK Yazurek has been black flagged by race control for that incident down into turn 1 that we talked about, that puts Tapani Leleote all the way onto the outside concrete coming into Cost Corner, and Risto Union is out of the race, and Nick Thiessen as well, I believe, is out. Pablo Lopez and Alain Sabach all out of the race. In the middle of the field, things are getting a little bit spread out, but Jason Lovett and Darren Marsh having a great battle for 11th and 12th, and they've got Ika Pala recovering from that moment earlier on, currently sat in the 10th position, and I think he's got himself a little bit of damage there, which is hurting him. We saw that touch of Aloma on his right-hand side. But apart from that, maybe he just overworked his tyres there once he got sideways, and he's having trouble trying to get that rhythm back.
He might just have that, and now being under the pressure by Jason Lovett is of course not helping him too much. He still is within reach of Jack Basford for the top 9 here, but with Lovett behind him, all these guys know each other from the DWC. Darren Marsh still in 12th position right here, Patrick Kotovara in 13th, Paul Ilbring also Blackstripe in 14th. So we've got many drivers from the Drivers' World Championship and Pro Series attending here tonight, and of course they know each other, they know how fast each other can be, and they probably all expect the worst from each other.
Indeed, yeah, and these drivers, very closely matched on the racetrack, and you put them to a car where it all comes down to driving, really. Yes, the setup can do a big thing, but the driver is the one that's going to have to get control at the end of the race. Having a look, though, and Ricky Adatolo, Timo Evening, they're kind of still in that battle, and they caught up this pack about 10 minutes ago, but neither of them's been able to make any inroads at all. Jack Basford is still sat in that kind of like second and a half region from also becoming part of the action, but overtaking really is proving to be difficult here, and still no one's been able to get past Aloma in the 13 car, and I'm wondering at some point whether Boutaloop or Williams might just try and do something to try and force the issue, because someone's got to start getting a bit frustrated in that car now.
Definitely, and we'll take a look at the lap time so you can see why the battle is really brewing up there. Kroenke currently in 3rd position, running a lap of 1 minute 32.9 in the last lap. In fact, he's been running 1:32s for the bigger part of the race, last 6 laps in fact. And right behind him, Alexei Aloma, 1:33.1 is his fastest lap. Last lap, a 0.3 for him. Jeremy Boutaloop, David Williams, Alatalo and Ivonen, of course, on similar lap times. And also Jack Basford closed up in 1:33.1, 0.2.3 for the last 3 laps. And Harpala struggling a bit, so it might be that Basford is able to close in here relatively soon. But, well, we've got less than 6 minutes to go in the race.
Yeah, and we are approaching that kind of like final countdown moment. And of course, it will all come down to when Gregor Hooter decides to pass the start-finish line. He's actually coming out of the field now, in fact, working down to the start-finish line itself. And whether he passes that finish line is going to be critical as whether they do another lap or not. And we did see at Road America last week, a couple of drivers were caught short in that. And these guys, are going to put as little fuel in as possible that they can get to the end. But if they have to do that one extra lap, it could put some people in a couple of issues.
Still, Jonas Zuccarinen in 20th position, gained about half a second last lap to Tapani Linaloto in 21st, and he's got Marcus Stoll ahead of him, a bit of a gap there. Still Kevin Usher, Juha-Pekka Lamy, all still with the chance on the 20th position. Zuccarinen, however, defending with about 2 seconds to the rear and 1 second to the front.
Yeah, and Gregor Hooter, that last lap, 1 minute 31.960. The first driver to get into the 1 minute 31s all race long. And Hooter is just cranking up the wick, lap in, lap out. His last couple of laps, he's literally been dropping time. And, he really is making a statement right now. The first driver into the 1 minute 31s, he's got such a big gap that he doesn't need to do this, but he's playing the Sebastian Vettel card right now.
He doesn't even have to do it. 5.2 seconds ahead of Jesse Nieminen there. He's probably got enough to drive this one safe home, and with 2 of the guys being lapped ahead of him, Isan Hitanen and Andrea Ventura, he might take it a bit easy with those guys, as he doesn't want to risk an incident, of course, and win this race here to start 20th in the second race.
Indeed, you see those 2 drivers there. They're not that far ahead, but he should catch him after Beckett's. At least one of them, he should be able to get past on the Hangar Radio. But in fact, Esa Heitonen in the 97 car, he's going to see that that 29 machine or Gregor Hutu coming up behind him quicker than anything he's seen all day long. Expect him perhaps just to move to one hand side as they come down the hanging straight. In fact, both of them are probably going to try and do that. And Ventura there slowing down on the inside. He's really dropped off the pace. And Hutu goes to the left-hand side. Hayton as well. And you see that, the sportsmanship. And Hayton was just like, look, dude, I'm not going to pass you because I know that you slowed down first. And it would just be ridiculous for me to take it as an opportunity to make a sneaky move.
Still the battle for 4th position going on, as now Alexi Loma comes out sideways out of the S's here. Butaloop still closing in by a huge margin there. Maybe trying to make the move right now. 5 minutes to go in the race. Not enough once again. And there's a bit of gap after I think Rico Latalo lost a position there against Teemu Ivonen. So it's just Williams against Butaloop against Loma there for 4th, and Basford has been able to close in, so it's Ivonen, Latalo and Basford for 7th position here. 2-3-way fight here, and even Harpala isn't too far away, so he might be profiting from an incident up ahead.
Yeah, and if these drivers continue fighting it out, then, you know, Harpala's got the chance in that number 8 machine to kind of lead his train back into the picture. He's got Jason Lovett about a second behind. Lovett looks as though he's faded for the time being. So that Western Wolves racing car looking as though he's going to be happy settling for 11th position for the time being. Darren Marsh sat in the 12th spot. However, I saw a lot of dust kicked up there by one of those drivers. The battle for the 20th position. It is currently Eunice Nakarin in the 65 car, a full 1.5 seconds ahead now to Pablo Lenioto. And we've seen how Lenioto's been pushing, and his last lap was 1 minute 33.6. Compare that to Nakarin's 1 minute 33.9. But Lenioto's had some very difficult laps. He had 3 laps in a row in the 1 minute 34 range, and he's got, what, 3 laps if he's lucky to get the job done. And this 20th position battle is far from over.
It is indeed far from over. Nukarina lost the 2 seconds to Lina Luoto. Lina Luoto in 21st, about 1 second behind Nukarinen, and we've got maybe 2 laps to go, 3 laps to go, not really sure, depends on where Hutu will cross the line this time. If Lina Luoto really puts the hammer down, it might be enough to close in, but we've seen it the whole race so far. It is really hard to overtake, and even if you manage to close the gap, it might not be enough time to really make the pass here. So far, Nukarina in 20th position will be starting from pole.
Yeah, and you see that Gregor Hutu coming out of Luffield, and it's going to be 2 laps as they come across the line. So Gregor Hutu has got 2 laps here left of the Silverstone circuit in deep Northamptonshire. They call it the land of the dead over there, but you know, this track always produces great racing. Neiman is still in the 2nd position. He's faded for the day, as is Martin Kroenke. We'll see, of course, how they do in race number 2. As it stands at the moment, Hutu's going to line up in the 20th position, Neiman in 19th, Martin Kroenke in the 18th spot. Aloma in the 13th car, still sat in the 4th position, and he's got that train of cars behind him, but still, no one is trying to make a move. Perhaps they've all decided that it is too difficult to overtake in this race. And one thing I had to say then, Marius, if it's this hard for these guys to overtake, how hard is it going to be for Hutu, Neiman and Kroenke to try and get through the field?
Well, they started in 20th, so even with Eloma, Butaloop, Williams, Ivonen, Alatalo, Basford, and all these names ahead of you, it might not be enough to make a move. And yeah, Williams has
good run, a very good run as they come down the hanging straight away, and not quite close enough yet again. And Gregor Hutu, so he's coming now. He's got himself, what, a lap and a third left to go. And at this point, Marius, I see a car literally going so wide there, and that might have scared Hutu a little bit, because, you know, if you're going through lap traffic, the easiest thing to do is just to ask other people to run their line. But coming out of Luffield, Gregor Hutu's got 1 lap to go. The white flag is in hand. Hutu class of the field, but wow.
He's in the battle for 30th position around him at the moment, passing Pascal Nicolas. And of course these guys are fighting here, so they don't just let him pass right away. And he's of course to respect that, as he does. So last lap for Gregor Hutu right now. Jesse Neiman still in 2nd, Martin Kroenke in 3rd. And not really a decider for 4th position yet.
Yeah, it's still not decided. And you say, you can never know. On the final lap, these guys are just coming past the start-finish line as well. It is Aloma in 4th, Bootleap 5th, Williams in 6th, Eamon in 7th. In fact, Eamon has just dropped off the pace a little bit now, as Anatolo and Basford. But Gregor Hutu has got himself half a lap left to go. Coming down into Abbey Chicane for the final time for this race. Of course, they've still got another 30 minutes for racing. That will be here live on Glacier TV. We're not going to go off there. We're just going to, say whatever, do whatever. Until then, Hutu now coming down into Vale for the final time, and really has been the class of the field all race long. Coming underneath the bridge for the final time. He's got himself one car ahead of him. This is Ernesto de la Pana, who's currently riding in the 30th position. Ernesto has had himself a very difficult day in the 28 machine. But Gregor Hutu has got himself now one corner left to go. Coming out of Luffield for the final time. Gregor Hutu was a bridesmaid twice last week at Road America. This time, however, he's going to come past the start-finish line, and we're in round number 3 of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. Hutu takes victory, and a dominant one at that. Niemann taking 2nd, and Marius Kroenke is going to come home in the 3rd position. But what a performance by Hutu.
Flawless race by Hutu, Niemann and Kroenke, all making no mistakes so far. The top 3 pretty much rounded up, and it is Alexi Loma taking home 4th position, Jeremy Bouteloup in 5th, and also David Williams not able to get Bouteloup out of the last turn here. 6th position for him, Evon in 7, Alatalo 8, Basford stays in 9, and Ilka Hapala saves the 10th position for what it is, the first race on Silverstone tonight.
So we're going to run through your final race results in just a couple of moments' time, and cars still streaming past the start-finish line. Their battle for the 20th position. The guy who's going to get pole for race number 2, it is going to be Yunus Nakarian in the 65 car, coming home in the 20th position. Tapani Lanioto is the guy who's going to have to say, I am going to start from 21st position in race number 2. Lanioto tried so valiantly there, but just came a little bit short. And Marius, perhaps those issues he was having with that car getting sideways early on in that race really paid to his efforts.
Yeah, he's been able to fight off Tapani Lanioto and save the 20th position, and we're gonna go through the grid here as the race is completely finished. Of course, Gregor Hutu, your race winner of the first race tonight here. 30 minutes, 48 seconds racing time, 6 seconds ahead of Jesse Nieminen. Martin Kroenke in 3rd, Alexi Aloma in 4th, Jeremy Bouteloup completing the top 5 here, and then we've got the battle for 4th position all the way. Williams in 6th, 7th Ivonen, 8th Alatalo, Basford in 9th, and Hapala rounding up your top 10.
Jason Lovett comes home in the 11th position in the 46th machine, with Darren Marsh just a second behind in 12th position. Petro Cottovaro comes home in the 13th spot, with Paul Ilbrink in 14th, Roderick Cronin in the 15th spot, Chris Damon Jr. in 16th, Troy Schultz in the 17th position, with Klaus Ellenbrand in 18th, Marcus Stoll in 19th, and the guy who will line up in pole for race number 2, the number 65 car of Yunus Nakarian. And just have a look at that gap as well. It is 51 seconds behind the race lead. And we're going to set ourselves up for a very interesting battle, Marius. Looking for the rest of the field, though, Lanioto in 21st, Kevin Asher 22nd, Ian Burgess 23rd, Fullstam 24th, and T-Wave Rule in 25th. You see the rest of the results coming up on your screen right now. There's still going to be some good battles in race number 2. However, I think the big point we can take out of race number 1 is overtaking is very, very difficult here.
It is, and it has been proven all the way, especially with the battle for 4th position. If the guy doesn't do mistakes, you've got about no chance to get past, really. And with the second race underway, and Hutu, Nieminen and Kroenke starting 20th, 19th and 18th respectively, they just almost have to rely on people making mistakes. Then I think as soon as they reach the top 10, they just find people on a similar pace, and of course they don't let you by as they are doing their own race. And with no mistakes, it's almost impossible to pass.
At this time, I'd like to welcome in Petri Cottovaro into the booth. Petri, good race for the first one, but at the same time, you've got it all to do yet again for race number 2. You finished 13th now, which puts you, by my math, in 8th position. 8th, 7th, 8th, I can't remember, I can't count, for the second race. But how was your first race anyway?
Very boring. Right from the start, I was behind Darren Mars, and it was all about staying behind him to the finish. I couldn't pass him. The dirty air in the fast sweeping corners is very bad, and the draft isn't that enough to get alongside.
And you talk about the draft, you talk about overtaking, and just very quickly, you will be starting in 8th. I can count after all. But that draft, it seemed as though a number of drivers are finding difficulties in overtaking other drivers. Really, there's only 2, maybe 3 positions that you can do on the track. But was it frustrating just being sat there behind Darren Marsh the entire race?
Yeah, and there was a battle between Darren and Jason, but I couldn't take an advantage from that.
The second race, of course, is completely different. You're going to be starting in the 8th position, but you've got the likes of Hutu, Niemann, Kroenke, Aloma, Bouteloup, Williams, etc., all behind you. What's your strategy going to be for the second race, of course, apart from staying clean on lap 1?
My strategy will be that I hope the dirty air will be on my side, and they will lose time in the corners, and I can keep it in the head of those faster guys, and maybe pass those slower ones who will be ahead of me.
Well,
So start will be very important.
Well, yeah, start always important in this series. Good luck in the second race. You'll be starting from the 8th position behind Paul Imbrink and Roderick Cronin. So good luck to you in race number 2. And for all of you people thinking, oh, we're just going to go off there and take a quick break now. Wrong. Marius, one of the things I want to come back to you and talk about is what I said earlier on this broadcast, the kind of medium downforce to low downforce difference. And right now, looking at that first race, I think that could come into play a little bit more because these guys are going to have to try and find a way to get past the drivers that finished in the top 5. They're going to have to try and find a way of getting past in race 2.
Yeah, and I wonder, we've been talking about different setups, and if you switch from medium downforce to low downforce, of course that is quite a big step in the aerodynamics, so you might need to get used to a completely different set for the second race, and I wonder if really you want to go for that. For example, Hutu, Niemann and Kroenke finishing in the top 3 right now, if they really want to put the risk in and not start with the same setup, and yeah, take it rather safe, as they definitely got the pace to move through the quickly. But also, you've heard Patrick Ottavara just now. He's really saying that the dirty air is a bit, bit of an issue here, a big factor in overtaking, and not just overtaking, but also going behind each other. So it might just be enough to keep you from overtaking here, really. And as soon as you get too close behind someone, even in the S's, your car is just completely off the limit. You need to really make sure the car stays on track. And yeah, he said it's probably difficult enough to just follow someone, and you can't really even get to thinking about overtaking.
Yeah, having a look at the comments, Stephen Izenye saying that Hootie will actually come home in the 6th position. Paul D. Brown saying that he'll come home in 5th. It looks like we're playing the prices right here. But for all of you people that want to know the joy of the ProtoICE series, have a look at this video. It's beautiful. Oh. Well, welcome back here to Glacier TV. The ProtoICE round number 4 from Silverstone will be kicking off in about 15 minutes time. At this time, however, I would like to welcome in pole sitter for race number 2. He came home in the 20th position in race 1, which granted him that pole position. Jonas Nakurin, congratulations on the pole, but that was a tough race trying to get that 20th position.
Yeah, I think it was pretty tough without decent setup and people around all the time, but I'm really looking forward to the second heat, and hopefully everything goes well.
And you had a bit of a battle with Tapani and Laniota in that battle for the 20th position. Laniota came close a couple of times, but were you worried at all that, he might try and pass you, or were you comfortable in the fact that, passing has been difficult all race long?
Well, I was not that worried about how others were driving around me. I was just trying to get to the finish line after first round failure, but it was really nice and clean this time.
And last week, Jorn Jens started race number 2 on the pole, and he took home victory. You think you can do the same this time?
I doubt it, because I don't have that comfortable feeling with the setup and car at the moment, but I will try my best, and let's see how it will go.
Well, good luck. Jonas Nakurin bringing the field to the green flag for race number 2. Marius, we've got ourselves a couple of minutes to talk about that second race. And first race, as we said when we started up the series, it was always going to be about the first race, just pure speed. The second race, however, this is when these drivers need to kind of roll up their sleeves, get dirty, and really have to work to get those passes.
Well, you say get dirty, hopefully not too dirty. We've seen a very spectacular start for Auto America, as multiple drivers were taken out in a turn 1 crash right away. And of course, we don't hope that this is happening right here again. But still, I think the start is still the position where you want to make up the most positions. And we've heard Jonas just now, he doesn't think he's able to hold on to the first position. He's got so many good guys behind him, and yeah, I wonder how the start is going to be. It's going to be one interesting race again.
And we saw from the first start that everyone kind of learnt their lessons from race number 1. Race number 2 of Road America even. And just one car that went wide into Costa Corner. Apart from that, everyone was clean on those first couple of corners. In fact, the entirety of lap number 1. So, put this into, as you see the pictures coming up on your screen slowly, put this into perspective for race number 2. Let's go back to the rule book very quickly, and the ruling is that you can go wide into turn number 1, but only to avoid a crash that could be developing around you. So it's more of a kind of safety net than anything, but do you expect there to be a big crash again, or do you think everyone's learnt their lessons?
I think everyone's learned their lessons. The first turn still is a bit of an issue. We've seen that in several different races already. I think after Road America, the guys really learned their lesson, and with the first race, no incidents in the very first turn. Of course, with 40 cars, you always have some people going wide here and there, but no big incidents, and no one has been hurt right away. So, if this is the same course for the second race, I think we really have to give out some awards tonight.
Indeed, and Silverstone in some ways is different because it's a very fast turn into turn 1. Pretty much everyone is going to be flat all race long. What I'm thinking though is that people like Hutu, Nieminen, Aloma, so on and so forth, they're going to have to gain big positions early on, I think, if they're going to try and get themselves, say, into the top 10. So I think there'll be a lot of jostling for position on that first lap. Overtaking is nigh on impossible from Maggots into Beckett, but down into Stone, into the Abbey Chicane, into Club, Vale, so on and so forth, I think you're going to see a lot of action on lap number 1.
And very interesting, I just thought about that, might be I mean, on Road to America, you've got several positions where you can overtake on your own, several spots where you can outbrake someone, and with the track Silverstone being like this, being shaped with a lot of fast turns where you can't just overtake if you don't get the lap out of the turn. I think the start gets more and more important, and even if you find yourself starting at 20th and you find yourself in 15th after some turns, you might be stuck there for a little bit longer than on Road to America, and we've seen so much guys being stuck in the first race. Of course, the guys are on similar pace, and you can't just drive by like that.
And unfortunately, we decided that you guys don't want to look at a black screen anymore. So look at that. There's some pictures from trackside. And it's all great and wonderful and beautiful. And of course, after this week, these guys have a bit of a rest, except, of course, for the pro drivers who'll be heading off to Watkins Glen. And right now, getting the momentum into the second round of heats, when we'll be racing at Suzuka and Sebring, that's going to be important. And I think, how people do here will really kind of sum up how their entire season perhaps could be. So, Hutu really has got all the balls in his court at the moment. He's had a great couple of races. And for him right now, I think he'd rather be a little bit more conservative, maybe take something outside the top 5 rather than have that car wrecked in the first couple of laps. So different strategies will be, I think, coming into play here with what people need and want in this race. So we've got 5 minutes of practice now. You see the drivers circulating on the racetrack once again. Why they're practicing, I have no idea. They've only done a half an hour race a minute ago. But 5 minutes of practice here. And Marius, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on these lap times and also the speeds of these drivers. I know you're having a very close look earlier on at Niemann's top speed coming into the braking zone for the hanging straightaway. And we might see a couple of telltale signs coming through now if these drivers are significantly faster down the hanging straightaway.
With low downfall, definitely you are, but also the first race also being 30 minutes long, we've not seen any tire issues, of course. But with the low downforce and the lack of downforce out of the slow turns especially, you might run into more slides, which also cause the tires to wear more. And at the end of the race, it might be enough for the tires to be worn enough for the guy behind you to be, slightly more stable, maybe, slightly benefiting from the dirty air even, maybe. So it's really hard to say. It's just projections at the moment, nothing really concrete, and it looks like several guys are at least going for the low downforce here. So it's going to be a mix-up.
Indeed, yeah. And don't forget, for those of you who are just joining us or haven't perhaps watched the race in the Glacier TV ProtoICE series before, the driver that finished in first position in race number 1 will line up in the 20th spot. The driver who finished 20th in race number 1 will line up in the first spot. And of course, pretty much the top 20 riders just gets inverted. This means that your winner from the previous race, which of course was Gregor Hutu, is going to line up in the 20th position. Jesse Niemann will line up in the 19th spot, with Martin Kroenke lining up in the 18th position. And then you have Alexei Alova who will line up in 17th position. I'm trying to do the maths backwards here. And Jeremy Butalik lining up in 16th, and so on and so forth. So the reason why we're talking about medium downforce, low downforce, simply is because some of these drivers have got to try and charge their way through the field just to get into the top 5. We asked this question earlier on, where Gregor Hutu will finish. Where do you think race winner of the first heat today, Gregor Hutu, will finish in race number 2? You can let us know by getting in touch with us on the chat on our live stream page. Alternatively, use the hashtag ProtoICE. That is the hashtag ProtoICE. And you just saw there once again the prize pool coming up on your screen. $500 for the race winner. And prizes paid out all the way through to the 10th place driver. Very quickly at this time, I'd like to welcome into the booth Glacier TV's very own Yoni Backman. And Yoni, I want your opinions very quickly on race number 1. It's kind of what we expected on this first race, but the second race has still got a lot of fireworks that could potentially happen.
Yeah, it was exactly what we expected, and second race will be, I think, as long as everyone survives the first corner of this heat, that's when we're gonna start to find out what this series really is all about. I mean, we lost majority of that action thanks to that turn 1 incident last week, but if we survive the turn 1, this is gonna be a barn burner, and especially like we saw a few good overtakings adding to that sheer speed display by Hutu, Niemen, and Kronke, and the fellows in front. But now when they have to fight their way through the so we got slower traffic, even though their top 20 is far from being slow, but that's when the action really begins, because if the last race was basically just stretching the field, then now it's going to be inverted, so it's going to be packing the field.
And one of these drivers who I'd also like to keep an eye on, who had an unfortunate incident down into Cough Corner about midway through race number 1, is Mr. GoPro Pablo Lopez. In the number 21 car, you know, he's one of those drivers who we've seen charge through the field before. This time he's going to have to do it from much deeper down the field, you know, outside the top 30. And really, he's going to be a driver, you know, outside the top 20 who we're going to want to see finding his way through the pack.
Yeah, and just the cup standings were rolling through the screen just brought to my mind that Bjorn Jens, the winner of the Heat 2 in the Road America, of course he did get the penalty for the over-aggressive maneuvers at the end of Heat 1 in Road America. He got the grid penalty for this race, starting last, and didn't manage to climb that high up through the field. And looking at, he was 4th in the standings after Road America. That really hurt his championship standings, that penalty he received.
Yeah, and just for Bjorn Jens, he could get himself into the top 30, but he couldn't break into the top 20 drivers. And it seems as though once you kind of got to that region of, you know, 25th place forward, it was very hard. And all these drivers are very closely matched on the field. We're going to run through your top 10 drivers very quickly in this for the second race of the day here live on Glacier TV. Eunice Nakurin will line up on the first position with Marcus Storr alongside him in row number 1. Klaus Ellenbrand will line up in the second position with Troy Schultz in the 4th position. Chris Damon Jr. in 5th, Roderick Cronin in 6th, Paul Ilbrank 7th, Petro Cotavara in the 8th position, Darren Marsh in 9th, Jason Lovett will round out your top 10. Marius, in less than 10 words, who's going to win this race?
I'm not that good at counting. I think Nieminen. That's count.
Yeah, that's enough.
That was 9.
Wow, well done. Yoni?
Williams.
I'm going to say Cotavara. I don't know why, but I think 8th position is probably the right
That's
place to be.
what I was going to say, but I'm Finn, so I didn't.
Yeah, right.
I didn't
Yeah.
want to tell Finn.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. Let's
Second
get this
time.
one underway.
Second time here today. You see the lights are on the gantry any second now. Those lights are going to go red for the second time today. Once they're going to go green, they're going to go racing. They are green, and we are away once again at Silverstone.
Brilliant start from Jeremy Bouteloup right down the field. Also Alexi Loma. Good start in one car on the grass and big crash up ahead.
Yeah, we've got 3 wide down into Cough Corner as well. We'll get an incident. Troy Schultz is involved in that incident. And Nieminen is okay. Hutu is okay. So the big drivers are still okay. And they're going through 2 wide into Beckett for the first time. And I believe actually that Hutu has got himself around Jesse Nieminen already in this race. And you see that another incident is that's Marcus Canton and Lord Jens getting into it as they come out of Beckett. Very slow now down the Hampshire straightaway. This car is jostling for position all the way through the field, but I've got a feeling that Stephen Schmidt was involved in an incident there, and we're going to try and get ourselves a replay of what happened down into turn number 1. But there's so much going on the racetrack at the moment. These cars are still 3 wide as they're coming down into Abbey for the first time, and thankfully everyone's okay. But Vegel Hutu has moved himself up to, I believe, the 14th position already. He's got Jason Lovett who's trying to close down already. In fact, he's looking down to the outside there, and now he's got David Williams down to his inside. They're going to be 2 wide as they come down into Club Corner, and David Williams went off track there, and that cost him 3 positions.
Yeah, and I was just watching the back of the field, and Pablo Lopez was started in the 44th position. This race is already up to 33rd position, and they went 3 wide going into the chicane for the first time around. That was manic.
Yeah, as they're going to come out of the final corner for the first time, we'll get your confirmation.
Klaus Ellenbrand. Klaus Ellenbrand is off. Yeah.
Oh.
Just to let you know.
Yeah.
Officially, Klaus Ellenbrand has DNF'd. He is out of the track.
And I believe that was Stefan Schmidt as well, who was involved in that incident. It is Julius Nakarin who's leading the way at the moment. Marcus Stoll is in the second position, Roger Cronin in third, Darren Marsh in fourth, Phil Ilbrandt in fifth. Aleski Loma is currently in the 8th position. We're keeping an eye out on him. Petri Kotovara, I talked about how he is my race pick. He's actually down into the 9th position. But Gregor Huti's up into 14th. Neiman is currently in the 15th position. David Williams, out of all of those drivers, is the one who's lost the most. He's currently sat in the 17th position, which is actually 2 places below where he started.
Meanwhile, Hutu, Nieminen and Krönke charging down the grid. Hutu now moved up into, I believe it is 12th position. Nieminen behind Jack Basford right now in 14th. And the race is currently in the mid of the second lap. And the field has been spreading out from the 5th pace descending. And we've got still Jonas Nukarin in the lead, Marcus Stoll in second, Roderick Cronin, Darren Marsh and Paul Ilbring. And then we've got the gap to Chris Damon Jr. and Ilkka Haapala, who've been fighting for the entire race. And then it's already Alexi Aloma.
Yeah, and Jason Lovett has been passed by Jack Bashford, Jesse Nieminen and Gregor Hutu. Hutu is up into the 12th position. He has got Jeremy Bootaloo, Ricky Alatolo, Petri Kotovara. In fact, Alatolo and Kotovara just touched a little bit there as they come into Luffield. Aleski Loma is in the 8th position, but this mid-pack right now is where all the action's got to be, and there's a crash zone, Marius, and I believe that is Eveno.
That is Timo Ivonen and Philip Stamm, as Philip Stamm puts the car a bit early on the brakes there. Timo Ivonen not expecting that, right behind him, trying to avoid the incident, but then clips the car of Philip Stamm, and Stamm now down pit road. Ivonen still out, and there's a bit of damage to the front of his HPD, so I think he might be fine for now. Martin Krönke right behind him will show if his straight line speed is okay, but Timo Ivonen by that created the gap to David Williams, Jason Lovett and Jack Basford, who are now fighting for 14th position, and ahead it's Nieminen against Hutu once again.
Yeah, and it is really intensive in this mid-pack at the moment, and whilst this is all going on, this pack is fallen behind by 5 seconds over your race leader, Eunice Nakaro. And Pablo Lopez, just having a look at him very quickly, and he is now up to the 28th position.
Started in almost dead last here, 48 people in the grid so far. Pablo started almost dead last, and he's made up several positions to find himself in 28th so far, and Martin Krönke is past Timo Ivonen for place 17.
Yeah, so this midfield pack is where we really need to keep an eye out on the action. Krönke's had a bit of a difficult start here today. He's currently running in the 17th position. Timo Ivonen is, of course, now behind him. But you see these drivers getting very wide out of left field as they're coming past start-finish line once again. We have got all the way from Chris Damon Jr., back, Aleski Aloma, Petri Kotovara, Ricky Alatolo, Jeremy Bootaloo, Gregor Hutu. They are all very closely matched on the racetrack at the moment. However, Hutu is ahead of Nieminen, and that was once again a perfect start by the 45 car of Gregor Hutu.
And now it really shows the true quality of a driver here in the traffic with the dirty air all over your car, and it's really the qualities of a driver now to make the best out of this situation. We've got 2 wide between Alexi Aloma and Chris Dameron Jr. for 6th position here. In fact, it is 7th, and Aloma completes the pass. Yes, he does, and followed by Petri Kotovara. Will he be able to make the pass right away? Dameron Jr. tries on the outside, and Kotovara dives down the inside. Dameron holding on to the 7th position here. Right behind them, Rico Alatalo and Jeremy Bootaloo attacking Gregor Hutu.
Yeah, and while that is all going on, Pablo Lopez as well has passed himself 2 cars this lap alone. You just saw here on your screen he's passed Nasca de la Pena and also Pasti Veitonen. In fact, Veitonen was really close there to get involved in a big incident, but Aleski Loma is all going on out front there. Damon Jr. is having himself a good race, but he's now looking at the rear of the 24 machine.
Oh, and we've got a spin. Petri Kotovara sideways, and he spun the car just in front of the last turn here. Puts it around on the grass once again, and I think he's been hit slightly there. Just checking, and yes, it is slightly. Riku tapped him out of the turn, and that is enough to put the car into a spin once again. We've said that in the first race, and Petri lost several positions and is now, in fact, ahead of Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, but actually, it actually started all the way back that Petri almost run over Chris Damon Jr. coming into the corner. And what that meant is Riku had to try and check up. This is Riku Anatola in the 5 car. He just couldn't get on the brakes quickly enough and ran into the rear of Kotavara. So there's nothing that Anatola could do because they were both checking up at the same time there. Anatola has lost himself a little bit of straight line speed. He's under attack now from Gregor Hutu, who looked down to the outside coming out of Stowe Corner. He's looking down to the outside once again as they come down into the Abbey chicane. It's going to be the last of the late breakers. Gregor Hutu trying to get the inside line coming into Club Corner. He's going to have a run, but he had to get out of the throttle there. And Anatola keeps the pace for perhaps another couple of corners.
Of course, Jeremy Toulouse, Jesse Neiman waiting for the moment to pass here. David Williams being slightly off the pack just a few turns ago is right at the tail of them, and also Timo Ivonen, Jason Lovett, Jack Basford, Martin Krunke, and then Timo Ivonen are closing in once again as fighting is just costing you so much time. You might close in within one lap.
Yeah, and this is the thing that we talked about. You know, this is where the action is going to be, but the gap right now between Gregor Hutu in the 10th position and Jonas Lukarin, who's leading the race still in the 65 machine, is 8 seconds. As they come past the line once again, I'm sure that's going to grow quite dramatically. We'll get an update on that now, and the gap is now up to 8.2 seconds. So Hutu is going to have to get himself around this traffic quickly, and Anatola looking as though he is holding up Gregor Hutu just a little bit. The important thing, however, is now this field's a little bit more spread out. It's going to help likes of Hutu and Neiman as they're trying to charge their way through the field. But Bootaloop in the 30 car is having himself a great drive currently in the 11th position.
And taking a look at the lead of the field, we've had Jonas Nukarin in the interview just a few minutes ago. He wasn't really sure to keep the first position there, but he has, and it's currently in the 6th lap of the race, and he's still charging away from the field, 1 second ahead of Marcus Storr currently. But taking a look at the lap times, Will, Nukarinen just doing 34.1, so that is 34 low, and with Hutu Nieminen at the front of the pack in the first race, they've almost been 1.5 seconds quicker than all of these guys. And Alexei Loma in 7th position, 33.6. In that rate, they are closing into the pack ahead relatively quickly, so even Harpala is currently doing mid-33s, and Paul Ilbrink a little bit slower. So for how long do you think Jonas will be able to cling on to the lead?
It's going to have to be, if these guys carry on battling, that is going to be Nukarin's only chance of getting this victory. If these guys start getting themselves into clean air, you know, Hutu, Aloma, they're going to be right up there really, really quickly. So right now that 65 car is going to be talking to his crew chief saying, are they still fighting? Get someone on track to make them fight a little bit more. But I tell you who's really coming up on my screen right now, and that is the 8 car of Ika Hapala. In fact, I believe actually he's, he's got Paul Imbrink just a couple of car lengths ahead of him, and I think Hapala can make a great drive if he can just get around the 19 car of Paul Imbrink.
Harpala and Eloma, of course, having the little bit of a tete-a-tete in the first race, and it's still Eloma in 7th and Harpala in 6th, and Eloma is closing in by half a second a lap, of course, due to Harpala being held up slightly by Paul Ilbrink. So we've got the battle between Alexei Eloma and Harpala coming up once again, question mark. And I hope they guys keep it clean right now. Behind them, Chris Dameron Jr. and Gregor Hutu battling for 8th position. And then it's Chris Dameron Jr. who did a great race at the Petit Le Mans just a week ago. He's got a good start here right away. He started in 5th, but then lost several positions due to a bit of a hassle in the first turns, now finding himself in 8th position. Still good after where he started the first race.
And of course, for those of you who are wondering when Marius Kronbeck was stuck in the time machine, it was 2 weeks ago, the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans, but we'll just gloss over that fact. Gregor Hutu did get past Riku Anatola there just a couple of moments ago. Chris Dameron Jr. is fighting for his life at the moment in the 60 car. He has got Hutu right behind him, stalking him like a hawk at the moment as they come out of Luffield once again. But if you look ahead of Dameron Jr., he's got about a 2-second gap to Aloma ahead of him. Aloma has got Hapana, Ilbrink and Marsh all kind of in a battle at the moment, but out front, the Korean has only got himself a 1.7 gap over Marcus Storr in the 2nd position. And for the guy who said that he wasn't going to win this race, right now, as we're 10 minutes into the race, he is in the hot seat, and he's just got to hope that, these drivers, carry on fighting out between themselves.
Yeah, and I think he's just in the zone. 1:33.9 currently his fastest lap
I need
of
to
the
interrupt
race.
you. Gregor Hutu's looking down to the inside, coming into Stowe corner. He is definitely going to get the pass on Chris Damon Jr. Very close there. They almost touch coming out the corner. Damon Jr. gets a run down into club corner. That was great defensive driving there by Damon Jr. He's going to keep a position there from Gregor Hutu, and I have to say that was one of the best defensive moves I've ever seen. But you see that Hutu once again trying to look now to the outside as they come down into Vale, and Hutu is not giving up here.
And there's definitely no celebrity bonus. Chris Dameron Jr. once again showing that he is one of the best guys in this car, as seen as in the Petit Le Mans. Rico Latolo, Jesse Niemann, and of course closing in by the battle between them. And Alexei Loma meanwhile created the gap between them and closed into Ilkka Haapala. So bit of gap between Dameron Jr. and Aloma right now. Nukarinen breaking away from the field with the first 3 cars, but then it's getting pretty much stuffed.
Dameron Jr. and Hutu there were both struggling in Luffield. That allowed Anatolo to get back into the picture. This is the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th position at the moment on your screen. And Dameron Jr., I have to say, that was by far one of the best defensive pieces of driving I've seen in ages. But whilst all that happened, these guys are now falling back to 3 seconds behind Aleski Aloma in the 7th position. And Gregor Hutu is going to get a good run once again as they come out of Beckett. Once again, he's going to look down to the inside as he's coming to Stowe corner. This could be an instant replay. What you saw 1 lap ago is exactly the same thing. Hutu looking down to the inside, and this time he breaks a lot later. He's going to want right on exit, but he will complete the pass. Move Hutu up into the 7th position. But look at this time from Judy's looking down to the inside once again. Not quite close enough. Hutu is now going to be able to drive away.
Meanwhile, it looks like all David Williams, Jeremy Bouteloup and Jason Levitt are out of the race. And Joni, I think you've seen something about that.
No, unfortunately I missed that, but I just saw in the telemetry that all 3 cars are have been marked as a DNF, and I'm not sure what happened there, but they all disappeared from my screen at the same time. So possibly a wreck there, overtaking. It seems like there was only one. They were involved in a 5-car pack, so might have a common.
Yep, and I'm just checking into that. I need to interrupt you. It looks like Jeremy Bouteloup just cut across the car of David Williams, coming down to the bridge in the last few sectors, and they both went into the left side of the wall, and then unfortunately caught up Jason Levitt, who could not avoid the incident. And also, I think Jack Basford received a bit of damage there. So both the three drivers out: Jeremy Bouteloup, David Williams, and Jason Levitt.
Yeah, and Marcus Dorr in the 3 car is closing in on the race lead. This is the battle between the number 65 machine of Eunice Nakarian and the 3 car of Marcus Dorr. This is the battle to say for the race lead. At the same time, Jesse Nieminen is now up into the 10th position. He has gotten past Riku Adatolo and is now trying to work down on Chris Dameron Jr. Dameron Jr. is getting very sideways in his car at the moment. He is pushing that car to the absolute ragged edge. As you see there, Nieminen looking down to the inside into club, not quite close enough, but Dameron Jr. is getting a ton of curb into that corner, and that's really going to hurt him all the way through club now. But Gregor Hutu is closed half that gap between himself and Aloma in the space for the last lap.
And of course, Nieminen wants to get past him as soon as possible. Gregor Hutu already broke free by about 2 seconds after he's got past Dameron Jr. He's in fact closing into Alexei Aloma and Ilkka Haapala right now. So maybe he's going to be held up by them right now, and that gives Nieminen the chance once again to close in. But as soon as he gets past Dameron Jr., he has to get the hammer down, and at the moment it doesn't look like Dameron Jr. wants to let him pass.
No, indeed not. We saw Dameron Jr. has been hard work for these drivers to pass. There are no black flags. These guys are racing for position, and Dameron Jr. is putting on a sterling fight in his number 60 machine at the moment. Hutu has now caught up pretty much to the rear of Alexei Aloma in the battle for what is currently 7th and 8th on the racetrack. But if you have a look at these drivers, you know, ahead of Aloma is Haapala, who's struggling to get ahead of Paul Ilbrink, who's only about a second or so behind Darren Marsh, who's struggling to get past Roger Cronin. This is now the train, and once Hutu catches this, it's going to be very difficult to, you know, get past them all, because you've got to pick them off one by one, and there's nothing between these guys.
Of course, Alexei Loma having a great start here after the first race. He finished 4th, currently finding himself in 7th position, fighting Gregor Hutu, and ahead we've got the battle between Ilbrink and Harpala. So this might be the chance for Damron Jr. to close in as well, but not with that much pressure from Nieminen. And now Nieminen on his outside, Damron Jr. sideways, and now maybe the chance into the chicane for Nieminen to get the 9th position once again. Down the inside, under braking. Not that easy, Will, not that easy. He's still trying, and Damron is defending with everything he's got.
Yeah, and you saw that Nieminen was actually lined up perfectly, but Damron Jr. is so late onto the brakes that he can make that outside line work there in to Vale. You see Nieminen having another look there to Brooklands, and Damron Jr. is just under constant pressure here as they come into Loffield once again. We'll keep an eye on Nieminen. I expect him to do something magical in the next lap or so, but Nieminen and Damron Jr. are falling behind this pack of Hutu, Aloma, Hapado, Ilbrink, Martin, Cronin by about a second a lap now. As Damron Jr. really has shot his tyres to pieces. He is trying to do everything possible to keep ahead of these drivers. Checking back in on that battle, and Hutu is really on the rear of Aloma right now, but we'll see whether he can do anything as they come down onto the hangar straightaway once again. Hutu actually gets a bit of a bad run out of Beckett's that time.
We have Pablo Lopez going at the outside, making the pass on the outside line into turn 1, getting past Esteban Ballo, got beside him coming out of the last corner, makes the pass stick, and Pablo Lopez, Mr. GoPro, up into P20.
Yeah, and it is so difficult to pass out on the outside of Loffield. He just kept the momentum there, pinched Ballo down onto the inside line. He got the job done as they came to Cosquan. A great pass by Pablo Lopez. We've seen many good passes in this race here today, and Damron Jr.'s got side by side there.
All the way! All the way. I've been following this since the hangar straight. A little bit of contact on the straight right now. Nieminen trying to defend around the outside here once again, and it looks like he's able to make the pass right here. And now maybe the chance for Alatalo with the overlap, and Damron, of course, cutting across him right now. Is the chance still there for Alatalo now into the last bit of the turns? No, it's not enough for Alatalo, but Nieminen is past Chris Damron Jr.
Yeah, and it took a big effort there from Nieminen. They were side by side, but
Chris
half a lap.
off. Chris Damron goes off.
Yeah, and
Alatalo get past.
It's been in the making, to be fair, for the last couple of laps. Damron Jr. has been slip-sliding that car around for the last couple of laps. He just got the white line there. Low gears is very difficult once you get into the power if you've overheated your tyres. Damron Jr. is back onto the racetrack. No harm for his car, but a bit of a bruised ego there. But he has had a great drive up until that point. He's now been caught by Martin Kroenke in the 27 machine. And to be fair, Kroenke, we expect a little bit more from him from this race. He's currently sat in the 12th position in the number 27 car, but out in this pack, it is Hutu still in that dirty air behind Alexei Loma, and he's struggling to even get a side-by-side of him.
Yeah, and I've been following lap times of these two, and Hutu, of course, when he broke free from Damron Jr., posted a 1 minute 32.4, and just a lap later, when he caught up into the dirty air, 1 minute 33.9. That is 1.5 seconds slower than the lap before, so you see how much of an effect driving behind another car actually is, and it just looks like he doesn't really get the shot yet. Alexei Loma, of course, defending his 7th position here. Great result for him so far, and well, time just flies when you've got action. We've got 20 minutes of the race done yet.
Yeah, already, and having a look at this battle for the race lead, the gap is now down to 1.1 seconds. The Korean has led for the past 20 minutes, but he's got Marcus Storr closing him down. You see there, Hutu looking down to the outside as they come down into Loffield. Is he going to try and do the same thing that we saw Pablo Lopez do? He's going to get a good run out of the corner, but not quite close enough. They're going to be side by side, pretty much all the way down the front straightaway. Can Hutu try and do something here? He's going to try to cut under as they come down into turn number 1. Indeed, he's going to try to cut under, but not quite close enough. They almost touched there, and Hutu is desperate to get past Loma, but he just didn't have enough straight line speed, and those two have fallen back now by a full second from the rest of this pack.
And it just, you can't make it work in the first turn, and just by that they've lost about a second to the guys ahead. So Ilkka Harpala has got a bit of breathing space there. Also, he has not managed to get past Paul Ilbrink. I'm pretty sure Ilkka could go a bit faster when he's getting past. Darren Marsh in 4th, Roderick Cronin in 3rd, Marcus Storr 2nd, and Jonas Nukarinen still leading the pack. And I think we've got to have a word with Jonas here. He's been faking us, obviously.
Yeah, indeed. And I have to say though, with Hutu, It just looks as though he's trying to go for every opportunity possible. And I think that if he was to just calm down for a minute, just sit back and try to line up a pass, he'll be able to find it a lot easier to get past Loma than indeed he's doing so. Because you saw that he had some great momentum at points of the racetrack, but he's just putting his nose down wherever he gets the opportunity. I think this could be hurting him for the moment. Now they're both back to single file, they have kind of caught up a pilot a little bit on this lap. But as we say, we've got less than 10 minutes left to go here at Silverstone. As ahead of them, they're going too wide, and this is Aloma with her pilot on the outside. And I believe Aloma has actually got the job done to move Aloma up into the 6th position. It's Mercurian from Storr. Cronin's in 3rd, Martin in the 4th position, Paul Ilbrink is in 5th. And I take that back, that was Paul Ilbrink in the 5th position. Hika Apala in the 6th position. Aleski Loma is still in the 7th spot, with Gregor Hutu in the 8th position. Jesse Niemann in 9th, and Ricky Alatolo is in the 10th position.
Yeah, and I'm just taking a look at the lap times from Jesse here. In 9th position, comparing to the lap Gregor had in free traffic 132.4, Jesse had 2 laps without dirty air, both 132.5s. So put yourself in the role of Jesse Niemann right here, charging down the grid. You just see the guys flying, and you're still quicker than them. You've got no cars ahead, you've got free air, and now again the chance for Gregor Hutu, not yet once again. And by the end of the lap, Gregor Hutu will have, getting trouble from the rear.
Sorry, Martin Kroenke just overtook Daniel Jr., but cut in front of him just a little bit too soon and got a little bit of damage there to the rear of his number 27 machine. Chris Daniel Jr. now down into the 12th position, putting on valiant effort earlier on in this race, but it looks like his tyres are absolutely shot to pieces. Kroenke managed to get the job done, but got a little bit of right rear damage in the process. Out front, that gap is still hovering around that second window between Marcus Storr in the 3 car and Yunus Nakurian in the 65 machine. They are battling for the race lead here in round number 4 of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup. For those of you just joining us late in this broadcast, the top 20 drivers were inverted for the second race, so this is why you see Gregor Hutu in the 8th position, Jesse Niemann in 9th, and Martin Kroenke down in 12th, who finished 1, 2 and 3 respectively in race number 1. And Hutu's got a very good run as they're coming down into Beckett's. Is he going to try and do something down the inside? He's not. He tried, but there's nothing that alone was going to let him out there. And Hutu has got the speed, but he's just not finding a way past. He's going to get a good run out of Beckett's once again, but it's just what I was talking about. If he'd stayed behind for those couple of corners, he would have had a great run coming down to Stone now. He's only a car length behind, but he would have been able to try and make the pass.
Guys, while we've been at it with these P6, P10, P20, P30, we've completely ignored one Cinderella story here. Jonas Nukarinen, first race in Road America, DNF, wrecked out of his action. Not because of him. Race 2, the same destiny, and this race P20, and now possibly victory.
Yeah,
and Hutu in Steloma. Once again, I have to interrupt you a bit, and Hutu's passed, and also Niemann goes past right away, and the same situation than in the first race. Now it's Niemann against Hutu once again, followed by Aloma, and I wonder how long it's going to take them. They've got about 5 minutes left in this race. Harpala is about 2 seconds ahead, so will Niemann and Hutu be able to close in right there? And then it's, the question, will Niemann be able to attack Hutu here?
I tell you what though, I think Hutu's got the chance to catch the rear of Apana, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to pass him. It took him that long to get past Aloma. He's now fallen back down into the 9th position, and that was, just as I was saying, he set himself up nicely, ran the outside line down into Vale, and managed to get the job done. Aloma is now down to the 9th position after what had been a great first part of the race for him. But we need to talk very quickly about Roger Cronin. He sat in the 3rd position all race long in the 05 car, and he's currently on shot for a podium, and these drivers behind him haven't been able to do anything. Gregor Hutu, he's got 3 laps I think to try and close these drivers down, and I think at the very most Hutu will probably be able to get up into 4th, so Cronin right now is in a good shot for a podium finish.
But as well, you've seen how long Gregor Hutu's been stuck behind Alexi Aloma there. Just a bit of defending from Alexi was enough to keep Gregor Hutu behind him, as the overtaking chances are very rare around this track. And now Hutu is closing in slowly but steady to Ilka Harpala, Paul Ilbrink, Darren Marsh, and Jesse, of course, following here in 8th position. So just a little bit of a mistake is enough to give them both another position here, and both valuable points in the run for the championship.
Indeed, and we've got ourselves less than 5 minutes left to go here at Silverstone. This is round number 4 of the ProtoICE $1,000 Cup, and Hutu has now caught up to the rear of Ika Harpala, who's currently sat in the 6th position. Ahead of Harpala is Paul Ilbrink in the 5th spot. Harpala has not been able to get past Ilbrink all race long, despite the fact he's made some big moves. Darren Marsh is sat in the 4th position, Roderick Cronin in 3rd, and then it's Marcus Dorr in the 2nd position, who's fallen back a little bit from Yunus Nakarian, but not by much. That gap has been static around the 1.0, 1.3 second range all race long, and with 3 laps left to go, Hutu is going to have to try and find a way, and he's going to have to try and find a way quick. But of course, every pass that Hutu makes, Niemann is going to try and do the same. But Niemann has dropped back now from a second behind Hutu, as he's looking down Hutu to try and see if he can make a pass, but he's not quite close enough yet, as that dirty air has now hit to the front of that 45 machine.
Yeah, but he's flying. Yeah, sorry, he is flying. Gregor Hutu's last lap, 1:32.398 against 1:33.689 from Harpala, 1.3 seconds, and Jesse Niemann lost a half a second in the Gregor Hutu.
But that all does not matter as soon as you're right behind someone in dirty air again, and Hutu has caught up to Harpala and now is locked in his dirty air, if you will. Jesse Niemann also catching up at the end of the lap, and Jonas Nukarinen meanwhile in the lead, making a lap of Alexandro Bernard, in fact, and he's going to go into the last lap of the race here, and well, he's pretty much led from start to finish here.
Second to last. Second to last, guys. Second to last.
Yeah, second to last lap. And the gap is still about a second, and this really is the cinematic story that Yoni was talking about a couple of minutes ago. You know, he had 2 DNFs at Road America. He's now leading the way here at Silverstone. He's not put a foot wrong in this race, and he's got all of that pressure behind him, and he's managed to keep it on the straight and narrow. Nakarian has got himself literally 2.5, well, a bit more than 2.5 laps left to go. In fact, 1.5 laps to go. I'm talking in gibberish once again. But Marcus Dorr is losing about a 1/10 of a second this lap over here. Roderick Cronin is in the 3rd position, keeping an eye out on Gregor Hutu. They're 2 wide ahead of him, as Harpala is on the left-hand side, and he's pretty much going to have to pick a line as Hutu. He's going to go to the left, he's going to go to the right, he's going to be letting both of them stay ahead of him. And you see that Harpala trying to get around Paul Ilbrink there, and you see now Hutu looking down to the inside. Both of them are going to get past Paul Ilbrink as they come down into Club Corner. Is he going to make it work? He's going to have to go all the way around the outside now. Here's Gregor Hutu as they come out of Club Corner. Look at that! And they touch! Hutu and Niemann touch there. Both of them spinning around. Niemann's out of the race. Hutu can carry on. I believe that is Shoku Anatola as well. Also involved in that. But 1.5 laps left to go. Niemann and Anatola out of the race. Gregor Hutu finds a way to carry on, but he's fallen behind Lascaloma and is now down into the 10th position.
And clearly out of the turn, Jesse Niemann besides Gregor Hutu there, and Hutu just turns in on him, completely missing the car next to him, of course causing Jesse Niemann to spin there, and Rico Latolo not being able to avoid the wreck ahead, and that is very unfortunate, as we've had a brilliant battle brewing up there, but yeah, he's just missed the mirror, and in the dead angle Jesse was approaching Hutu right there, and yeah, that's how it goes.
Talk about that incident in our post-race show. It is Jonas Nakarian on the white flag lap. 1 more lap to go for him in the 65 machine. Storrs on the 2nd position, and as I say, Marcus Kroenke now is up into the 9th position, and he's got Gregor Hutu. In fact, I believe Kroenke is actually passed Hutu. Take that back even, but Harpala is in the 5th position, and all of these drivers in a blink of an eye have really fallen off the pace a little bit. Hutu's once again behind Aloma in the battle for the 7th position, and Aloma really was gifted there.
Still, we have to focus on the race leader, Jonas Nukarinen, followed by Marcus Storr, still Roderick Cronin, still in 3rd. It's been going like that the entire race, and Jonas just has half of a lap to go to secure the victory here, and that was one brilliant race for the Finn here. 29 minutes, 46 seconds last time by, so this is indeed the last lap of the race. Down into bridge, 3 turns ahead of the track for Jonas Nukarinen for victory here. Marcus Storr in 2nd. Roderick Croyne in third, Darren Marsh fourth, and Ilkka Haapala. Is he trying the move? He is, but not enough, and Darren Marsh is defending like a lion in his fourth position, and Jonas comes out of the last turn and will take victory in the second round here. Second race in the second round on Silverstone circuit here. Victory for Jonas Nukarinen.
Yeah, indeed. Last week it was Jorn Jens who took the win from the pole at Road America. Jonas Nukarinen makes it 2 drivers down from pole in race number 2 in a row to take victory. Marcus Stoll will come home in the second position. Roderick Cronin in third. Darren Martin fourth. Ilkka Haapala in the 5th position. Paul Ilbrandt in 6th. Ilaski Loma in the 7th position. Gregor Hutu comes home in the 8th spot. With Martin Conke in 9th. Chris Damon Jr. in the 10th position. We'll run through the rest of your results at a moment, but guys, that was a crazy last couple of laps, and I'm sure Nieminen is going to be very, very angry with that one.
Yeah, and I have to say I don't blame him. I mean, as much as people like to say high things about Hutu, I honestly think watching that situation live, it looked to me like Hutu just closed the door on Jesse slightly too much, and I would give the blame for Hutu on that one.
And until that point, I mean, it really did bunch up, and we talked about this. You know, once you get into traffic, it was so difficult to pass that all these drivers started bunching back up. And Nieminen had a great run. You had the cars going too wide into Stowe Corner. You had 2 cars going left, right, in every direction possible. And it was a case of pick a gap almost. In some ways, it was just Nieminen was kind of in the wrong place and the wrong time. At this time, we'd like to welcome Jesse Nieminen into the broadcast booth. Jesse, remembering the fact that you are live in Glacier, you kind of must be a little bit upset with that.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
And take us through that lap, take us through that incident. It just looks like everyone bunched back up together. You tried to make a look on the inside coming into Peter's club corner, and then all of a sudden, the 2 of you touched.
Yeah, I thought I'd make a run on the inside, and maybe got a little bit of understeer from the draft in front, and yeah, we touched with Gregor, and yeah, didn't end so well.
And we've seen how difficult overtaking has been here today, as you're just seeing it on the Glacier TV super slow-mo cam. But you get to a point where, you know, you have to go for every position possible. And, you know, would you have done anything differently if you're in the same situation again?
Probably the same, to be honest.
But, you know, you had a good first race, came home in the second position. You, in the second race, you know, I think you classified in 34th spot. You got a rest for next week, then you're heading over to Suzuka. How are you hoping to fare over there?
Well, hopefully we can improve the set a little bit. Should be a good track. I like it a lot, so I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll finish the race too this time.
Not to worry, 2 DNFs from 2 second races, unfortunately, putting some dents in your championship. But we'll talk to you hopefully in 2 weeks' time at Suzuka. Yoni, I'll come back to you quickly. You've had a look at the incident and see it's coming up on your screen once again, and it looks as though actually it wasn't really as much Hutu's fault as we thought at first looking.
Yeah, I have to take that back. I'm watching it right now, watching it in full motion, in full speed, and real time. It looked to me like the outside car would have just cut across, but yeah, that was not the case. Race incident in my eyes, but very unfortunate again for Jesse, who I think had two bad misfortunes in both of the second heats, and especially after like storming race like he did here. Like, yeah.
Marius, you've got your own opinion on this, of course.
Well, I wouldn't see it too much different, but I think in the view of Gregor, I think he's just missed that cars completely alongside. Jesse was at that point on the right side of Gregor, and of course Gregor coming down from the outside of the turn, pulling to the inside, and Jesse holding his inside line. They touched, and I think at that point of the track, I think it would be the position in Gregor to just stick to the outside line if a car is fully alongside you. Of course, if he turns in like that, there's no question that there will be incident, and well, Jesse can't just disappear. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a look back through it myself, looking at it frame by frame. It really did look as though I don't think Hutu realised that Niemanen was there. That's the important thing. I mean, you had 3 cars literally running 3 different lanes on the racetrack, and if you get a shot from the blimp cam, you'll see just how closely together these drivers were. And Niemanen couldn't really go too much further down the inside line because, of course, he had the slow car on the inside line itself. That was Paul Lindbrand, but that was forcing him to run the second line. But at the same time, Hutu was trying to run on the third line. The two just came a little bit closer together. And I mean, in my eyes, I'd call it a racing incident, but really disappointing for Niemann. And let's not forget as well, Hutu lost himself a good couple of positions in that, and he finishes this race behind Aleski Aloma, who took so long to try and get past.
It, however, has been a very interesting race once again. A little bit of unfortunate incident for Jesse and Gregor there. Of course, putting Jesse to another DNF, and not forget about Rico Alatalo, who just couldn't avoid the incident there and also put out of the race. Still, very interesting race, lots of fights going on, and I think at least until that point, that's the race everyone wished, and hopefully you've been entertained properly.
Yes, we'll run through your final race results here for the second of these 2 races. Munis Nakurian takes home victory in a time of 31 minutes and 20 seconds. Marcus Dorr, 0.999 seconds behind Roderick Cronin in 3rd. Darren Marsh in 4th. Ika Hapala in the 5th position. Paul Ilbrink in the 6th spot with Alexi Aloma in 7th. Gregor Hutu in 8th. Martin Conke in 9th. Chris Damrow Jr. rounding out your top 10. In 11th position, Jack Bashford. In 12th, Tapani Lanioto. In 13th, Timo Evenham. 14th, Marcus Caton. 15th, Kevin Archer. 16th is Timo Vol. 17th is Dion Vergis. And then in the 18th position, from 44th on the grid, Mr. GoPro Pablo Lopez in the 21 car. Isvan Bala in 19th. Ernesto De La Pena rounding out your top 20. The rest of the results coming up on your screen, if I haven't already done so. And I'm going to ask you your driver of the day, starting first, very quickly, with Marius.
Yeah, we've got maybe my driver of the day here right away. Jonas Nukarinen, we've heard you just under 30 minutes ago. You weren't really comfortable for the race, but you've shown us otherwise. Great victory.
Yeah, I managed to keep my pace pretty solid, and I was just being chased by Stor behind me, but well, it was a tight race though.
And when you had all of these drivers, you know, you saw the gap to Marcus Stor behind you, but when you saw the likes of Hutu, Kronke, Aloma, so on and so forth, kind of closing you down, were you getting worried at any point, or was it just a case of managing your own pace and kind of blocking it out of your mind?
I did not check that much the gaps between the front runners usually. I was just I only saw the top 3, and there was Roderick and Marcus and Daniel Marsh behind me, but yeah, I was able to keep good mistake-less pace apparently.
And how important was that race start? And how important was it getting good revs off the line coming into turn number 1? And was that, you know, the critical factor of you being able to keep that race lead?
Well, I think apparently on this track, or with new draft model or something, it's not that easy to overtake apparently if there was Hutu and everyone behind everyone, and just couldn't get towards the lead of the pack. So I think, yeah, keeping the lead was pretty crucial. Yeah.
And after 2 DNFs at Road America, you came home 20th in the first race today, and a victory here. You've got a 1-week break now, and then you're heading over to Suzuka in beautiful Japan. You looking for changing your fortunes now? You got your first victory under your belt?
Well, yeah, I do like Suzuka pretty much, and it's technique track, and the assets are really interesting. So in 2 weeks in time, we will see how it does go. But yeah, I look forward to it, and hopefully I can keep solid drives like today.
I have to ask one question in Finnish. Olisitko uskonut aamulla, että voitat kisa?
En.
Well, that is... all right.
How to do a question in Finnish there by Joni Backman.
Yes, you've heard Finnish from Joni then, so we can move on with our next guest, Roderick Kroinen, in fact. Third position in the second race. Great race by you, Roderick. You've been caught up in the middle pretty much. Marcus right ahead of you, Darren Marsh right behind you, and then the battle between Ilbrink and Harpala. So you've been right in the sandwich. Jonas has said that it was not that easy running away from the pack, so you had cars both ahead and behind you. So how was it for you?
Yeah, exactly. It was really hard to to make a gap. And in the same time, you want to keep as close to the guy ahead of you. But once you get a bit closer, the car pushes a bit more, and yeah, you get closer with the slipstream, and then you lose a bit time again because of the push. So it's really hard to get so close that you can make a move. But I got very close one time when Marcus made a mistake. He then closed the door on me, which was fair. But yeah, that was, I guess, my only chance, and I should have waited a bit and tried to overtake him on the straight after the turn where he made a mistake. But no.
You started 6th in the second race, of course, being 15th in the first race. So you've made up 3 positions to finish 3rd. How hard was the start phase for you? So when was the point where you say the start phase is over and now the normal race begins?
Well, yeah, I was struggling quite a lot in the beginning. I couldn't really get into a rhythm since I didn't really have my my seat was not standing as it should, since I just got back before the race started. And halfway race I changed my seat and it got a bit better, but it was really hard to feel comfortable, especially with Darren Marsh constantly within a second.
You've talked about Darren Marsh, and he's been very strong the whole race. He's been 12th in the first race, so he came from even further back. Was there a point in the race where you thought you might not be able to hold your pace? So you've been running a pretty consistent pace the whole race long. Was there any point you sort of dropped and thought, now it's over?
In the beginning, I thought he was just waiting to, I don't know, wait for the if I would make a mistake or if I would try an overtake attempt on the guy ahead of me. But in the end, it just seems like he was on his max, so I wasn't really afraid of him anymore. I was just watching what was happening behind him. Yeah, I saw that Paul got passed at one point, and I was just waiting for Hutu to show up on the relative, but he didn't. And yeah, last few laps I felt pretty comfortable that I could hold the position.
Still, great race, Roderick Kroinen. That was 3rd position in the second race after finishing 15th in the first race. So good set of points for you, Roderick. Next round, as we know, is Suzuka. Track you like?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of my better tracks. I drove it quite a few times with the Proto and GT series, and I was always one of the better drivers at that track. So definitely looking forward to that, and I hope also that there will be a bit more passing than at this track. Not by just me, but by everyone. So you guys have a more exciting race to watch.
Oh, we sure had, at least in the second race. Thanks a lot, Roderick Kroinen. And Will, I believe you've got another guest.
Yeah, before that, very quickly, Roderick, sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Nein, ich spreche Niederländisch.
Oh, okay, I was going to ask Marius to talk to you in German, but okay. Moving swiftly on to Alecki Aloma. Alecki, you had a very interesting race, and take it through it.
Yeah, the first race was like I didn't have enough pace. Got a good start and pretty good. And then had a little incident with Ilka. Well, we just decided it was the racing incident, and well, the second start, pretty good start again. I think there was some wreck and a little hit with my teammate Jack Basford in turn 1. Wasn't my fault, of course. And then so fighting with Petteri on the first lap, and then Chris Dammer Jr. in the third or fourth lap.
And that's oh, sorry.
Will,
Yeah.
wait a sec. I think before we continue this, you should learn the name of your interviewee.
Oh, shut up. But I want to talk to Ricky Atuli before I do that.
Oh no!
Carry on.
Yeah, and then I got by Chris Dammer Jr. and I started to catch Ilkka and Paul Imbrink and those people. And then I got them, but it was really hard to really keep up with the dirty air. And then Huttu came behind me, and he was like over a 1 second lap faster in first race, so I had to really take defensive line every time when it was really near end.
And when Hutu came up behind you, it looks as like he was struggling to get past. I mean, you had some great battles on the racetrack, and eventually he did find his way past, but then he was involved in that incident, of course, with Jesse Nieminen, which put you back into the position where you were, essentially, before it all carried on. But how hard were you defending from Hutu and likes of Nieminen as well, once they closed up to the rear of your car?
Well, it was really hard. I couldn't drive like normally, like when Budeloop was behind me or Haapala. I had to really take like defensive line, and like when he went outside on the club before he got by, I almost parked my car there on the left-hander, so he couldn't get run out of club. But then he figured it out when he got by me. So he went like outside and then on the inside for the club, and then just in the Abbey I couldn't like hold him up anymore, and Jesse was right behind him, so I kinda let him by. But I think he could have gone by me, even though I would like let him by, because I got really bad run out of the Abbey anyway.
And looking forward to next week, not next week even, 2 weeks' time at Suzuka. You got a good car there, I believe, going into that race, but you're looking for a little bit more? Trying to go for your first race victory here?
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard pass at Suzuka, so I think it's pretty much same that well, if there's no like turn 1 wreck and someone gets easily by, like, well, might happen, and most of the cars were run up front.
Very quick.
Wreck, so if it goes like this race, it's kinda whoever starts first or like first 3 spots will win the second race pretty much.
And the only thing is Marius has gone somewhere else. Talking Finnish again.
To Alexi?
Yeah.
No, I'm here. Not necessary.
Okay, I will talk Finnish anyway, just to piss off Marius a bit more. Okay, Aleksi, oliko kiva?
Ihan ok, kiva. Olisi voinut kivempaa.
Okay, that's it.
All right.
Continue.
It's enough for today. I think it's really time to wrap this one up.
No, it's not, because I need to still talk to Ricky Atulu.
All right. Go ahead.
And at this time, we'd like to welcome into the booth Ricky Atulu. No, sorry, I mean Ricky Anatolo. Ricky, you had an interesting day. You were taken out, however, in the second race in that whole Hutu, Nieminen, and like yourself incident, really. So until that point, you were doing pretty well, but take us through the wreck.
Well, yeah, I came into club and saw that there was some contact and a car was around in the middle of the track. So I was like, okay, everyone's checking up and going on the inside, so I was just gonna go NASCAR redneck style, full throttle on the outside and pass everyone. But then yes, his car shot to the left, and a big bang happened, and my car was wrecked.
Until that point, you'd had yourself a good 2 races, really. But it looked as though at the same time you were not able to really match the pace of, the Kroenke, Aloma, who else am I thinking of here? Hutu, of course, and Niemanen. I mean, just how much speed was left in that race car, and just how hard were you pushing it to the limit?
The lie, I was faster than Oleski, but but yeah, didn't start practicing really that early, so my pace was not that fast. I was quite away from Jesse's and Gregor's pace. Martin was also up there, but I was of course trying to push, but with the limited practice, it was not possible to go as fast as them.
And looking forward to Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. I mean, you've got it all to do to get yourself back into the championship hunt. Of course, you don't have to run the Pro Series this year, so it kind of gives you a little bit less to think about, and you can put all your attention onto him. How big a difference is that, being able to just run the Run Series and not 2 simultaneously?
The Pro Series and the ProtoICE would be there would be 5-hour gap between the 2 races. That's from race time. So realistically, after the Pro race, there would be about 3.5 hours between the races. So of course, it makes a big difference in terms of my performance in ProtoICE because I don't have to practice F1. So I think it helps me do much better here. But instead, it seems to me like I'm wrecking all the time.
But Suzuka, you looking for a change in fortunes?
Oh yeah, of course. I'll put a bit more practice. Hopefully, get a bit higher up the grid. So that'll even my chances. Hopefully.
Cool. That was Ricky Alatolo. Ricky Alatolo. That's the one. Who came home at this race way down the field, of course, after that incident, which put him down in the 34th position. Very quickly before we go off there. Final person, sorry, Paul and Brink, had to steal you away there. Came home 5th in that race. Very quickly, sum it up for us.
Yeah, it was a good race. I came in 6th though. Lost 1 position at the end. And yeah, I just had a bad start, and I'm really sorry that I hit Terry there. Because yeah, I wasn't paying attention to my left side as there was a lot of action on the right. And yeah, I hit him, and he pretty much screwed up his race, I think. So I'm sorry for that. And for the rest, it was a good race. I couldn't really challenge Darren, so I just kept following the best I could with Ilka behind me. And I knew he was a bit faster, and I think he just didn't try anything. So we could drive away a bit from the back. But when Gregor came, yeah, he was just faster and passed me at the end, so lost a position.
And you're right there, pretty much in the middle of that huge moment between Hutu and Niemanen. I mean, did you see anything from your car, or what? Yeah, what was it like from your angle?
Yeah, it was just that Ilka passed me in the right-hander before on the outside, and I think me and Gregor went too wide through the chicane. And I didn't really see what happened. I just stepped to my inside line, and in the mirror I saw them touching, but I didn't really see what caused it or whose fault it was.
And in 2 weeks' time, we head over to Suzuka, and you're looking forward to the Japanese circuit of awesomeness?
Yeah, it's a good track, but I'm not sure if there's a lot of overtaking there, because I think it's a bit the same as Silverstone.
We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And now, Marius, now we've spoken to everyone, we can start to wrap up. Run number 3 was kind of what we expected it to be, kind of just a sprint race, everyone kind of where they were. Heat 4, however, was just crazy fast. And even if you include the Hutu Niemanen incident, I think really it was a great race all round.
It really was, and I think surprise of the day, Jonas Nukarinen brought home the victory from start to finish. And well, we didn't expect that, but most of all, I think he himself did not expect that. So Props for that. He took home the victory there. Markus Storr and Roderick Kroinen rounding up the top 3. Overall, a great race. Pretty much the exact opposite of the first one. Lots of action everywhere. Even a few good overtakings, and in the first race it was pretty much all running behind each other. So this gives us a good prediction towards Suzuka, I think.
Yeah, and indeed, the series will be taking a week's break next week, and we'll be returning to Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. The same format as ever, though. We'll be on air at about 40 minutes past 8 GMT. We'll be bringing you race number 1, and then talking a bit, and then race number 2, and then talking a bit more. In the meantime, however, next week, iRacing Super Saturday returns with the slightly delayed round number 1 of the iRacing Road Pro Series. The Road to the 2013 iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series was due to start today at Spa-Francorchamps. That race, unfortunately, was cancelled, so therefore it will start at Watkins Glen instead. And Marius, Spa, very different animal, very different beast from Watkins Glen, but that one race will really put the pressure on drivers to deliver even quicker in the Pro Series. Yeah, and just after switching from Spa right now, I think most of the guys were pretty good prepared. They didn't get to do the race, still they had to do the preparation. Maybe some of them are fed up, I can understand that, but still they've only got 1 week to go to the second round planned. But as this is going to be the first one on Watkins Glen, it's going to tumble down the series a bit. So we're of course going to keep you updated on how it's going on, if there will be a replacement round or if they'll just run 11 rounds. So yeah, as soon as we've got news, we'll of course broadcast that to you. Nevertheless, next weekend, Saturday at 14 UTC, I believe it is, we've got the Pro Series on Watkins Glen, and well, if you like this today, you best stick around for that. Yeah, and of course, the series as it is will be with 9 rounds because of the fact we take a break for Christmas and New Year. There is the chance to have an additional race on what we call Week 13. But very quickly, to come back to ProtoICE, you see there on your screens the prize standings for what the drivers are aiming for here in the Pro Series. They're also running for cash, so it is another cash series. Big prizes on offer. We'll be bringing you all the build-up for the first round of the Road to the 2013 iRacing.com Grand Prix World Championship Series from Watkins Glen, the qualifying and the race itself. And then, of course, we'll be bringing you the Blondie's Mazda MX-5 World Tour at 6 p.m. GMT as well. It is now time for me to run out of words, so goodbye from me, goodbye from Marius, goodbye from Yoni. See you next week.